Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of GRAFF TV. Tonight, we have another Los Angeles legend in studio. He's a 3D wild style innovator who's been part of Los Angeles graffiti culture for almost 30 years. His art can be currently seen all over the city. And at one point in the early 2000s, he held the record for most legal spots in all of Los Angeles County. Ladies and gentlemen, help me in welcoming one of the most creative graffiti innovators to come out of Los Angeles. It's the one and only Butcher AAA.
Thank you.
Yeah, man, awesome. Thank you for joining us in studio finally, bro. How you doing today?
I'm great. How about you?
I'm doing great, bro. I'm excited to finally have you in studio. When I first started GRAFF TV and began looking for guests, I was thinking of all the different writers that I've come across, throughout my life. And when we moved to Silver Lake at a young age, bro, you were one of the first writers that I saw all over the city. Especially in a time when it was all about tag banging, in that area.
Yep.
So first, bro, I'd like to start. Where did you grow up? Where were you born?
So I grew up, I'm 44 years old. In July, I'll be 45. I grew up in between, let me start from the beginning, by King. The house I was born in Kaiser, but the house I lived in was right by King Junior High on Fountain. And that was in 79, and in 85 we moved right down the street off of Sanborn and Effie, and I lived there till late 86 or 87, and we moved to Vendome, right by Los Globos, and I lived there till I was an adult.
So your whole life has been
In that
Silver
area.
Lake.
And until this day, so my children are up north, my two youngest sons, I spend half my time here and half my time up in the Bay with my children and then working on my art stuff down here and back and forth. So I'm here 3 months, there 3 months, here 3 months, there 3 months. But yeah, I started in that little area, Virgil Village, and that whole little, like when you had that interview with RT, TKO, and he was like, yeah, I was, my mom wasn't around because she was out gangbanging. That's my homegirl, his mom. So that's the neighborhood. I'm like, that's how I knew who. I'm like, who is this fool?
I see.
I'm like, I know who this fool is and shit. So yeah, that area is where I was born and raised, grew up. So yeah, I knew that.
Silver Lake has gone through a huge transformation over the last couple of years, several years. Can you explain what life was like in Silver Lake back then growing up? What was Silver Lake like?
Okay, so there's two sides. So if you look at like the hipster area, where you go north of, you go west of Hyperion, that's like was the gay community right there. You know what I mean? If you went just like right there off of Sunset Boulevard, if you went down past Jiffy Lube, down like anywhere, as soon as it went downhill, where Erewhon's is now, that's the hood. It was hot. You know what I mean? You shouldn't be there, anyone. You know what I mean? And so with me, tag banging was invented by Fox 11 News. I know there were dudes that claimed they were tag bangers, but I was told all the tagger crews were tag bangers when I was a teenager, and that was more like some sort of Fox undercover infiltration to get taggers dumped on. That's how I looked at it, so I never associated with that. And if anything, it was, okay, I always wanted to paint. I drew when I was a kid. Like, if you check my Instagram page, there's a photograph of me when I was 4 years old at Barnesdale, like, ooh. And so I always drew, I always painted, you know what I mean? So when I started doing graffiti, it was based off of my experiences and seeing things like in Hollywood, different, I don't know if it was, honestly, I'm just gonna be straight honest. I'll give props to all the old school crews, but I was too young to even know who the crews were that were doing the graffiti. I just remember seeing graffiti at the Boys and Girls Club of Hollywood. Some dudes crewed up and then painted the whole gym. So maybe someone could comment and chime in on that later, because I was too young. I was 7 and 8 years old, but I've been interested in it since then. But in my area, there was not many, and this is starting from my childhood. It was all gangs, you know what I mean? And I know only from speaking to older writers who watched me grow up, like later as an adult, like, fool, I watched your ass grow up, like A1. A1, K2S, he'd be like, when I like met him as a teenager, he's like, fool, I've known you your whole life, fool. You used to fucking run around with fucking Val and DTW. I'm like, oh, fuck, this will just put me so. We've all known, you get my point. So I've always looked up to the piecers, graffiti artists. And so it was all gang shit where I grew up. There were no tag bangers. There was DTW, Fox 11 News would have called them tag bangers, but they were taggers that some of them were armed and they ended up turning into a neighborhood later on. You know what I mean? So yeah, it was gangster stuff. And so in high school, when I went to junior high school, I'm not going to count that as I was a writer because I was doing toy shit. I mean, my art wasn't toy, but I was still working on my letter schemes. Going, hey, can you? Hood rat's going, could you do some shit on my notebook or on my shirt? Like, all right, you know. But like, and yeah. So until I went to Marshall in '94 is where I started catching tags and got burned and got arrested, all that shit. Got kicked out of LA Unified School District. Yeah.
As you mentioned, the tag banging era in the early to mid 90s, Fox 11 News was covering the whole situation. In your opinion, was it as dangerous as they claimed to be? Did everyone have a gun in those days? What was the tag banging era like?
There was a green light put on taggers, period. And so it was more like dudes got in the neighborhoods in the 90s. So you knew every crew, so that, like I said, there was almost like that was a doctrine that was invented, like a psyops project. And I mean, Fox 11, CIA. Someone's going to say I'm taking it too far, but what would they do to infiltrate a group, a progressive movement? You know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. I think I don't think it really existed like that, and then cats to call themselves that because they didn't want to get into a neighborhood. And so me personally, I just tried to veer away. I'm not going to say I'm an angel. I got caught up in the streets with the hood, so I tried to avoid that. You know what I mean? But being almost, you know, the stigma of graffiti in LA has the tag banger stigma, so you always had to worry about that being an artist in LA when you're better than so and so or something like that. You know what I mean? I've always practiced my whole life. So back to that, I didn't know many piecers my age in high school. I'm talking about the early 90s, like 93, 94. And Swank, SH, he's the only dude that was a piecer that I went to high school with, period. And sorry if I'm offending you. Gache, excuse me. Gache went to high school with me, but he wasn't doing pieces yet. He wasn't doing his characters yet. He was just doing throw-ups and stuff. But the only person I know doing, like, straight, and was already a dope artist, dude. He did some shit outside of the fucking, so props to Swank. I'll tag him on my shit, you know what I mean? But, he's one of the first people I painted with, too, in South Central. Him and I am the homie Smog. But yeah.
To your knowledge, why did graffiti evolve from the tag banging era? Did something happen? Do you know why the transition happened where it became about art again?
Some people, like, you know what I mean? Some fools still got that dumb mentality. You know what I mean? Everyone wisens up. Everyone wants to progress. Like, everyone wants to do, you know, even if they're not at the par where they want to be, they want to do, like, what looks dope. You want to see a bunch of this, and I'm not dissing fools that do block letters, like, props to, like, Hopes and shit like that. That fool's dope. He's a unique dude. But, and he does his own little, it's not just regular. But everyone would like to do some unique style that's different. And so that's what I think that element has been, you know, ushered into that. Like, and so like some fools just do throw-ups, and like I don't really do that. I like even my throw-ups are pieces. I like to do wild style shit, and some people are more paying attention to their name being recognized, but those that aren't trying to engage in the graffiti and look at it too much and be like, oh, what the fuck does that say, and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, that's a hard one. You know what I mean?
Backing up, you're growing up in Silver Lake. So you're growing up in Silver Lake. Before graffiti, what type of kid are you? Are you into sports? Are you into art at a young age? What are you focusing on before graffiti?
So like, yeah, I started rapping in '92. At King, I was rapping, freestyle rapping. I always drew my whole life since '83. I've been drawing since, like, my mom's like, oh, you're good for your age, you know? And so I've always been drawing. But I don't know how to explain. I saw gangbanging going on around me in, like, where I grew up, but I didn't gravitate towards that. I was afraid of that shit. You know what I mean? And so like I don't know, 11, 12 years old, I remember just freestyle rapping, and I was already drawing. Like I said, I'm not gonna give myself credit as a writer for that. So I've always been drawing. I was just a regular ass kid. I have unique parents. So growing up in that area is a predominantly Mexican area, half black and Native American and white. So you know, when I look, I'm brown, so people thought I was Puerto Rican and stuff. And so I had an interesting kind of hippie-ish perspective from my mom and a Chicago kind of street perspective from my dad, and he was a singer-songwriter producer. So I had a music was always in me, and I started producing electronic music and hip-hop and drum and bass around the same time I started doing graffiti, if not a little bit after, because I got equipment a little bit later, you know what I mean, and DJing and all that stuff. But prior to that, it was just like...
Was your first love rapping, then graffiti? Is music your first love?
Dude, they're synonymous. Like literally. You know, I can like literally like freestyle while I paint. I love both of them. There's different politics. For instance, I'm the Butcher, right? And this is now Benny the Butcher. I know you've heard of him. I would love to like battle rap that dude on a freestyle battle. I'll take him the fuck out, bro. Like I really get down. I'll talk about Chris Brown when he beat a bitch down, Rihanna, like a piranha plus R in the middle. That's a piranha biting flesh. Invite the rest. GRAFF TV. You know what I mean? Dude, I come right off the dome. I don't have to. Like, you can give me a topic. That's what I'm saying. So back to that. Yeah, I've always loved freestyling and rapping, but art has always been my thing. But with art, it's always just something that, oh, you're good at it. When I was a kid, and I was told, okay, sorry, let me back up a little bit. I went to this kind of private school thing. My mom's friend, it was like a hippie home study thing. This lady named Jenna, totally cool, but she studied under Manly Palmer Hall, and I met Manly Palmer Hall when I was young.
Who's Manly Palmer Hall?
He's a theologian, basically, in my opinion, one of the most intelligent people in our modern history. He's a 33-degree Freemason, and he founded the Philosophic Research Society right there off of Los Feliz and what the fuck, Boulevard Marshall. And I actually met him when I was a kid. You know what I mean? It was weird. I'm like, that old man, but he's a gnarly dude. The most craziest intellect I've gotten was from researching his material. You know what I mean? But yeah, it'd be a long description for me to tell you about him. But yeah, that's and so I had weird art training. Like once homegirl scribbled on a piece of paper when I was 7 and told me to stare at it. And then came back in 5 minutes and asked me what I saw on it. And I told her all sorts of shit. So I was like, was I born on LSD? Like, what's going on? You know what I mean? So I've always had a love for art and drawing and was motivated to do it.
You're rapping. You're learning about art. When do you first see graffiti and it enters your consciousness? Do you remember? Was it a video? Was it in the streets? How does it first come across your path?
Damn, that's funny that you asked that. Well, in the streets, first of all, I remember seeing, you know what crews I remember? I remember seeing MWA up on my block when I was young.
Most Wanted Artist.
Most Wanted Artist. I think it was a Rhyme from, and I met him later on because he kind of confirmed. He's also the one that Saber capped at the LA River, not to change the subject. He had a big MWA, and so he was hating on Saber because he had a big MWA, and that's what Saber did. Capped that MWA at the LA River.
There was a giant MWA before the Saber under
was
there?
There for like 10 years, bro. And so that was like, yeah. So when I had my little shit with Saber, he was on, you know, like, yeah, I'm like, all right, yeah. But I remember seeing them up. I remember seeing K2S tags up. But the only reason I remember it, I was barely learning how to read. And I remember seeing numbers with the letters. That's the only I remember K2S as a kid. And then some shit on TV, like on Beat Street. And I remember that's no offense to whoever did Ramo's shit, but that shit was toyed to me when I was a kid. I'm like, what the fuck? When I was like a kid, bro, like, so, and then I saw what inspired me was some like New York mural shit. And when dude's like, yo, son, he was a good dude, rest in peace. And he painted like a mural of some dude that died in the Bronx. And it was like some respected, man, he was a good dude. He went too early, and that's why graffiti art, son. Encompass it, and like I'm like, oh, this is dope. I want to do like that, and so that was my. And then in '93, there was a place called Today's Produce up the street, and my parents were like, hey, you should try to see if paint their stuff for them. And like I was gonna commission some shit with them, like my first commission before I even had burners up. You know what I mean? And they ended up going out of business. So yeah, I was shit like that. And I mentioned the shit at the Boys and Girls Club of Hollywood, which I think it was K2S, but I can't put my finger on it and shit. You know
You're
what I mean?
seeing graffiti all over the walls. You're seeing it in the Boys and Girls Club. Who do you ask, or who schools you on exactly what graffiti is and teaches you a path, or follow, or do you learn on your own?
Dude, I'll tell you some crazy shit, dude. I'm self-taught by nature. I was motivated and told by that lady Jenna and my mom when I was 7, if you practice drawing every day, you'll be one of the best in the world. I did that shit. And so it kind of gets disappointing because I'm not rich. You get my point? Like, I have to do all sorts of other shit to make money. But that was the motivation I got. Separate from that, I didn't have anyone say, hey, fool, you got to do this. Except for my homie Yoda from the crew. Like, he don't fuck around now. He helped me found the crew. And, like, when I say I'm the founder of the crew, it's because other homies that were with me at the beginning don't paint. You know what I mean? We painted at the SH yard in 94. And he's like, hey, fool, fucking, he taught me about painting on a black surface.
How do you meet Yoda to begin with?
I met Yoda at the Boys and Girls Club when we were like 8 years old. And this fool was just talented, just dope as fuck, like a professional comic book artist. And he already had gigs. He was doing like straight storyboard, like sick-ass drawings. And then he got an internship to Wildstorm Comic Books later on, and he was a dope graffiti artist. And him, Smog, and I started the crew in late '94. And then I was a kid, bro. I was fucking 14 years old, 15 years old.
Was Yoda in a different crew? Was he writing Yoda at the time?
He was writing Yoda, but he wasn't from any other crews. He was just like, hey, when we started 2 crews at once. One was UDC, Undisputed Champs, and AAA. And I just started, Undisputed Champs was based off of this one Dell song from back in the days with Dell and Q-Tip and shit. So Yoda was dope, bro, and he had an internship at Wildstorm Comic Book, so I was very comic book influenced. And we went out, and I was too young for the internship, and he introduced me to Jim Lee, who's the dude who did all the X-Men back in the days, dope-ass artist. Dude, let me back up. Sorry, let me back up. In 1991, this is, you know what, I'm sorry, I got ADD, I'm gonna be real with you. In 1991, Todd McFarlane released Spawn issue 1, and they had a comic book signing at Golden Apple on Melrose. My brother and I got dropped off at 6 in the morning, we're in the line. I'm like, dude, I'm gonna give this fool a gift. And I kind of wanted to show show Todd McFarlane when he came, because he was gonna sign the first issues. I drew Spawn, and I'm trying to find this footage because the owner of Gold Apple died and it's under new ownership or whatever. Dude, he comes up to the line with his daughter, and she's obviously in her 30s now, and goes, what's that? And I said, here, Mr. McFarlane, and I gave him the drawing of Spawn I did when I was 11 years old. And he goes, you know what? On camera, to his newborn daughter, we just found your long-lost brother. You know what I mean? And that was my motivation. That's what made me feel, oh, dude, I just got props from Todd McFarlane, my favorite artist. So that was in 91. Fast forward to 96, Yoda takes me to Wildstorm Comic Books and lets me color and ink one of Jim Lee's. And if people don't know Jim Lee, he's the one that does all those sick lines, X-Men, and submitted it to Jim Lee for future internship. And he was totally down, but I was underage. And when I was 18, I was going to have a potential internship at Wildstorm Comic Books. Next year, Yoda had some issues with his own personal issues, and it kind of like fucked everything up, and I didn't get to proceed with that. It was in La Jolla, California and shit. And then he also stopped painting after that, and so it was kind of weird, you know what I mean? So yeah, that was one of my, those are kind of my influences right there. And my brother and I have always done, my brother still does comic books, you know what I mean? Like his own like independent thing with his buddies. And we both kind of started together, and if you look at some of my old work, you could kind of notice like the anatomy. I'm like, hey, that fool did some like straight fucking Robotech shit. That's my influence right there, Robotech, bro. When I said there you go, Robotech. Japanimation, that was my shit, bro.
You're meeting other writers. Besides Yoda, are there any other writers that come across your path in that early phase where you're getting acquainted with graffiti?
That's funny, right? When you said that word, but the first one that came to mind, is funny that you said that, is one of your previous guests, Fish, who used to write Pissed in 22 back in the days. This fool when we painted the last wall, he said, and I was with a group of 3 different fools, and they were from GAW. Like, fool, I met you in '95. I'm like, oh fuck, I met you here. And then Fish is like, fool, I met you in '94, and I thought I met Fish in '96 when I got into KOG and LTS. And so he was like, fool, I met you at some rave in Glendale, and you came in with a helmet and a black book. You came in and did a bunch of head spins, picked up your black book, went over to me and said, hey, show me your black book. He said that was in '94. So I didn't remember that until like a couple weeks ago. I started cracking up. I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, that I remember that rave. It was like a half hip hop rave in Glendale. So I remember meeting Fish back then. I remember, oh, so I got one for you. In '91, bro, I was kind of like on some like Melrose hip hop shop shit. I had a Hex jacket. Dude, I found a Hex jacket on the bus, bro. I didn't buy it at the hip hop shop on Melrose and shit, Hector Rios and shit. And I was flossing that shit. And then some big old like 6'2", like bald, like kind of cholo looking dude wearing like some Mickey Mouse gloves and a tied backpack like a groover goes, hey, big dog, or hey, dog, what part are you from? I'm like, what the fuck? Nah, I mean, I don't know what you're talking about, homie. He goes, all right. He goes, ooh, and he did some shit with a whistle. Fool, that was Tumor.
What?
That was Tumor, homie. And then and the reason I know it's him is because of Circa 96, 97. I don't know if you remember Circa 96, 97 was a rave. Downtown, it got raided by the fucking cops. Everyone started running the streets of downtown on acid and shit. And I remember Tumor with a whistle in the gloves going, and they were playing hardcore. And he's going, hardcore, hardcore. Like, so yeah.
How do you know it was Tumor?
It was him, folks. I seen him. It was him. Trust me. And he was into that shit. Like, I was on the rave scene, bro. That's where I come from. And so I remember that dude from that scene. You know what I mean? Like he was in the. I produced techno, bro. Techno and drum and bass. So I was at all the raves as a youngster trying to get in that mix. You know what I mean? But yeah, that was Tumor for sure. I didn't meet many writers as a youngster, but because I wasn't paying attention. But like I said, everyone said, "I watched you grow up when you were little." You know what I mean?
You meet Yoda. You're getting into comic books. You're starting to learn more about art. When do you first pick up a marker or a spray can and start tagging or hitting up, catching spots? Are you mostly catching tags? Are you already experimenting with piecing before the tags?
I've been experimenting with piecing since I was like 8 years old, since the Boys and Girls Club. Like, but I never considered, like, I'm not gonna say I've been writing since '88. You get my point? Since going to camp and meeting writers from South Central. Sometimes my brain works in that way. BSA. Forgot what his name. Damn, BSA. It was this dude named BSA I went to camp with. That's he was considered a tag banger at the time and shit. And a lot of those tag bangers were into some raver shit in that time frame. You know what I mean? Yeah, dude. Fucking Sorry, I forgot the question because I just went back to remembering another writer and that just totally threw me off.
The first time catching a tag. Do you remember first getting the spray can? Are you catching tags? Are you bombing? Are you piecing?
I went straight to piecing, bombing. So you know how those kids are doing those billboards now, where it's like kind of like it's a bomb, but it's wild style. It's kind of like I mean, I could say kind of like Braille's shit back in the days. It's kind of like an LTS style, but it's other kids that are doing it now. It's kind of like a Spawn kind of style. I was doing wild style throw-ups straight from the get-go. Trying to practice my letter structure to look like a piece because I didn't have enough to get a lot of paint anyway. I only had a fill-in and an outline. So I could literally say '93 is the first time I actually got a can and went down the street. Up Dillon Street, there's this little back alley if you go in between, and I would have caught a whole fence with 3 spray cans and did a character, like, you know what I mean? That was in '93.
Are you by yourself?
I was by myself and shit.
How did it come out?
I thought it was dope. I was like, fuck yeah, I'm a fucking artist. I'm a writer, bro. Fuck that. Fuck all this shit I see. Look, I remember, I'm confused. I don't know if it was Else, but somebody used to be on the back of I forgot to say that, on the back of the billboards on Sunset. I forgot who that was, but I think it was Else. You know what I mean? But yeah, so that's what I that's what I remember. I was like, oh shit, because I didn't understand about spots and legal spots and you know what I mean. I was just a kid. Like I liked catching shit. You know what I mean?
Butcher, you mentioned one of the oldest crews in Los Angeles called Down to Right. One of the original crews that I remember growing up in that Silver Lake Echo Park area.
Well, ironically, that's Silver Lake now. They turned into Silver Lake. All those dudes got into Silver Lake.
Who from that crew did you know, and how do you get acquainted with them? Because they're a crew that has been kind of forgotten in history because they became a neighborhood.
Well, I grew up on Vendome, and so there was eight. Aslan was the gang right there. They're more like paisas. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna keep my association with my hood out of this as much as possible because it's not becoming of my art career. You know what I mean? But my hood is up the block a little bit, back towards where I originally was. You know, Sanborn and all that. And so I saw what was what, and Down to Right was they were all cool, bro. Like I knew a lot. I knew mostly all those fools. Travieso, Fat from TSS. You know, I grew up with him too. So basically, yeah, I forgot what he wrote, the homie Ben. He got jammed up, bro. This was like 90, 93, 94. This is like right when I started the crew. We're at Tropical right there. The Tropical right there on Silver Lake and Sunset. And some dudes rolled up saying, hey, homie, with the gauge and shit. And I was talking to the dude Ben. He was from DTW, and he goes, where you from, homie? Fuck DTW, that's it. And I'm like, I'm from AAA, and just got in the way. I'm from AAA, homie. You know what I mean? And just because I knew that they weren't looking for me and shit, and this fool, oh yeah, go fuck DTW. And this fool's like, oh fuck, this fool thought he was gonna get blasted. And they're like, all right, homie. And then they dipped out, and this fool's like, oh shit, gracias, fool, gracias. And he boned out. And so, yeah, that was the homie Ben. Like they had some problems, and it was fools. They said this is Main Street, but it wasn't Main Street Crips. So it was some like Latino tag bangers. So I guess they were considering those tag bangers, but I've never heard of that. I've heard of Main Street Crip and all that shit. But yeah.
In the tag banging days, was that a usual occurrence? People coming up to you out of nowhere, hitting you up?
Fuck yeah.
With
dude.
guns?
But see, the funny thing is, like the hood I grew up in, those were the dudes that jammed you up the most. You know what I mean? The hood. And so that made me I don't want to be a tag banger. I'm from this crew. They're going to blast you. You know what I mean? So that's, it was a no-no to me. And my dad like, fuck that. Catch someone tagging on my fucking house. Fuck them. I'm like, oh, fuck, dude. Like, so even, you know what I mean? It had a stigma that like, and that goes back to Fox 11 News and that whole psyops shit. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, dude.
You're experimenting. You're now writing on the streets. What name do you have early on? What name are you writing, representing?
Krang.
Krang. How do you get that name?
Ninja Turtles. The brain from the Ninja Turtles.
Why did you decide to stick to that one out of all the names?
Dude, that fool was running shit on the Technodrome. Ironically, I just got signed to my favorite techno label, Technodrome, which is a techno label in overseas and shit. And they use the whole Krang Ninja Turtle Technodrome theme, you know what I mean? But yeah, I thought he was dope because, he controlled a big-ass robot. I actually was going to paint the Krang robot in my last mural, and I was like, oh, this is a pain in the ass. I didn't have the budget for it. I'm like, this is going to be a fucking 5 G's worth of fucking paint, you know what I mean? But yeah, that was my original name. I would do it with a C and with a K and shit, but mostly with a C.
For how long do you write Krang?
I wrote Krang from 94 to, because I'm not going to count 93, you know what I mean? I used to write random shit. Like Mayhem the Destroyer, some toy shit. We went over Blasted Up King, but that doesn't count. You know, that shit was weak. When I was satisfied with my shit was Krang, and that went from 94 till 98.
Did you get Krang up? Did you get it known like you wanted to?
I got it known in the community. I got the AAA, like I wouldn't, you know what, honestly, I didn't even hit up Krang. I hit up AAA. So the thing was, since I started AAA, I had a couple of other homies that would like, Paisa, MSK used to be from my crew, by the way. Other homies hitting it up, you know what I mean? My homie Gush, my homie Cure, Homie Detect, rest in peace and shit. You know what I mean? That was like my original like homie that got into the crew. You know what I mean? And yeah, so when I hit it up, and so I also got busted because of the shit. Because, well, I think this is part of the same conversation. I got busted. Fucking, they followed me and Detect from Continuation off of Gramercy in Hollywood all the way, the undercover cops, Hicks, and I forgot his partner's name, all the way from fucking Gramercy to Florentine Gardens, just catching a AAA and black with a black pilot on white walls, blah, blah, blah. And they photographed it. So I got busted. They took me in. I lied. I was just worried about my dad finding out. I was shitting bricks. They told me my homie Detective had been busted the week before. Your friend's younger than he says he is and all that shit. Those fools were being dicks, bro. I remember that shit. And then they ended up, I was giving them fake numbers and ended up somehow stumbling across my real number and called my dad. I was like, fuck, dude. And then they took me home. I lied to my parents. I'm like, fucking, like, those fools are fucking lying. Fuck those fools. They didn't see me tagging. They're fucking lying and shit. And so when I went to community service, they're like, oh yeah, we're lying. And then laid out all the fucking photos in front of my dad. Yeah, fuck those fools, bro. Like, and so after that, I was already kicked out of school. I went to continuation, right? So I would go to Marshall to meet up with my friends and shit. Walking down with them, these fools would roll up and call me by my last name and shit. Perry! I'm like, what? In front of a bunch of writers, bro. The cops. I'm like, wow, just put me on their squad car and frisk me and shit in front of them, just to embarrass me. And so, like, graffiti, not like certain fools just go mobbing out, and we're out mobbing. I couldn't do that. And so when I went to community service, I brought my book with me, my art with me, and they saw it. And these fools said, oh, this fools can draw and shit. And they submitted my shit to Ron Conley from the MTA. I saw a whole photograph of the camping trip from the undercover fucking cops, bro. They felt all confident with me. They're probably watching this shit. They probably watch graffiti shit so they can get their files on motherfuckers. Fuck it. Exposing y'all motherfuckers. A whole camping trip in their photos, and it was Officer Martinez, Hicks, and they wanted to commission me to paint some big project, some big metro station. Well, yeah, this is perfect. MODOK, bro. I don't know if you're familiar with MODOK.
Yes.
That's the homie. So MODOK was like 14, or he was young, bro, because I was 16. And fucking, I'm getting commissioned. They're saying it's going to be like 15 G's or some shit like that, bro. Right? For some, and I'm just, my life has just been changed and shit. And then they used, and I'll go back to MODOK. I ended up not getting the gig because the investigators used the AAA tag, which is basically Krang and Butcher. It doesn't matter if anyone else is doing it, which I was the most active. Thinking like, oh, they can't blame AAA on me. I could still hit that up. And they used it against me, and it fucked that gig off. And Ron Conley said, we can't hire you because you're still an active graffiti artist. And you're still doing fucking damage on the city. And so back to when it was still about to happen, Ron Conley picked me up, and they had the budget for me to pick up the paint. And so we used to go to SEA, Center for Enriched Studies. And that's where all the crews were there. Every writer was there back in the days. From my tag banger shit generation, it was in 95, 96. And Plug, my homie Plug.
SA10?
SA10. Burn it. AAA too. He's from AAA, but he didn't want to burn it back in the day, so he would have AAA somewhere else because he didn't want his homies from SA10 and UTK to be like, hey, homie, why are you hitting up another crew? But that fool hit up my crew everywhere. That's my boy and shit. I got my head cracked with that fool, both of us.
Shout out to Plug. He's on our list for future interviews.
That's my boy, bro. You know what? He's the fucking landmark king. And I'm a smart dude, and that's arrogant for someone to say, but I didn't get it. When I was 16, I'd be kicking. We used to rack, bro. We used to make fuck it, statute of limitation, bro. We used to rack when I was fucking, not cans for like, we would go out to West Covina to fucking Rosemead on the bus and fucking Polaroids, fucking makeup and cash.
How would you steal? Can you give us a little insight?
Full fucking sweats under the fucking pants, fucking tight at the bottom and shit, sometimes with zip ties and shit, and just stuff, I used to go to DMPs with all sorts of food I don't even fucking remember, bro. Like, we used to, but me and Plug and Detect were the main, we were fucking solid on that shit.
This was before eBay. How would you get rid of the loot?
Downtown, homie. Downtown. And it's not there anymore on 5th and fucking, 5th and Broadway. And it's funny, I could talk about this shit now. 5th and fucking Broadway, bro. It was a little paisa spot that sold electronics. And then you walk in with your backpack and they would just profile you and wait till everyone was out. And so, come here. And they had a fucking straight fucking speakeasy turnaround fucking bookshelf type of shit with their products, and you go to the back and you would count your products. And there was some other Korean lady downtown in the fashion district to buy all your makeups off of you. But yeah, fucking back to Detect, that's my boy, bro. He'd be catching a spot behind a rusty pipe while I'm catching a spot with a spray can, bro, right on a window. He'd be like, what the fuck are you doing, fool? Don't trip, fool. But then you realize my spot got buffed the next day, and his is there 30 years later. Because I didn't understand the concept of landmarks, you know what I mean? It's rusty, old, hidden shit because it's still gonna be there. So yeah, shout out to Plug and shit, you know what I mean? I saw him when I was painting my last production, he popped up and shit. Chicken Boo is our little code word. He said Chicken Boo because that's our word when I jumped out of a car at 90 miles an hour, cracked my head, bro. Almost died, and he was there with that. That's a whole nother story, bro. That's my boy.
How do you first meet Plug SA10?
Fuck, that's a good question.
Do you meet any of the other SA10s and UTKs?
I remember Punk. I saw Punk at Fish's show, but he doesn't write Punk anymore. He told me to write something else and shit. But yeah, I know him from back in the days too and shit.
You mentioned you used to write Krang.
Yeah.
Are you writing Krang when you start the AAA Crew?
Yes.
Can you tell us about how the idea of starting AAA begins? Where do you first develop it? Who do you tell first? Who do you recruit first?
So initially, I don't know if you know that bridge in Los Feliz that in between Marshall and is it Franklin?
The Shakespeare Bridge?
Yeah, with the little things,
right.
Fucking obelisk or whatever. We were walking, Yoda, Smog, and I said, fuck it, we'll just start a crew, bro. It was as simple as us three.
Was Smog in a different crew at the time?
No, Smog was, he wasn't from nowhere, you know what I mean? He was actually, Swank and I that's the first collaboration I did, and that was in South Central off of Jefferson. And I'm not sure if it was late 94 or early 95. I did a Dragon Ball Z, and Swank did some like dope alien character, and Smog did like some weird like little character and shit. And that was in I think late 94, but that was the first time I actually did some shit like, hey, we're doing a collaboration production type of deal. And I don't know if people remember, it was that Black Panther mural off of Jefferson, and we did the back. Just to add, it was funny, the dude hooked me up with a fade after, and I guess he was a Crip, and I was hot at the time, so he'd give me a fade. And this is Swank already left, he'd give me a fade. Oh no, Swank was still there, I think. And I know where a car rolls by, and I'm getting a fade, and this fool puts his 9 on the barber table. Oh, y'all niggas know I'm from the hood, right? I was like, oh, fuck. Yeah, that's what I remember from that one. Shit. But yeah, that's it.
AAA, one of the most influential crews, especially back in those days when everything was about tag banging.
Yeah.
You guys had style, the way you dressed, your piecing, your art.
Damn.
Can you please give us a little more detailed information on how you chose the name AAA?
Okay.
And how would you recruit artists that you felt were worthy of being in AAA? Because
the recruiting process, it was like, I basically got cats asking me about it, you know what I mean, my peers, and I was at Marshall, and so I took that as, oh, this is dope, because it was just me and a couple of heads, and they were older than me. Smog and Yoda, they're probably like pushing 50 now, so they're all like 5 or 6, 7 years older than me, and I'm, like I said, I'm 44, so the cats that got in were like Paisa, Cure, Gush, Detect, and they were all younger than me. They were all about a year younger than me. I got my homie Dino. And then I had issues later on with infiltration where dudes were trying to dudes took acid and had a bad trip and started hating me. The dude Tick I'll mention their names and started basically, and I'll fast forward it a little bit. I'm going up to some GRAFF event, showing up to check it out, and the homie Menace tells me, hey, my nigga, he called me Loco Lock because I used to have dreads, and he's like, oh, you're a cholo with dreadlock, whatever. He called me, my nigga, Loco Lock. He goes, some niggas biting your ass hard, nigga. And these niggas biting you hard. I'm like, what the fuck is he talking about? I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, you'll see, nigga. And so I go up inside the graffiti event. It was out there in MacArthur Park. I don't know if you remember, by MacArthur Park. I go in, and this dude that I gave him the boot for my crew already, but he's lying to people saying that he taught me how to paint, doing a bunch of shit that's like a wannabe version of my shit with stencils and shit. So I've had that issue when I'm not the stencil dude. I might use stencils on my fine work and shit, or not stencils, but like painter's tape and shit. But on my walls, I'm all freehand. You know what I mean? I don't sketch. You know, I've never sketched because it makes it more difficult for me because when I don't, you know what I mean? But back to, sorry, to change the subject, ADD. The crew thing is cats that engaged with me and said they were down because it was hard for me to find people that were consistent. And back to, you mentioned the style, I was a b-boy, bro. I was like, until 2017, and I was already, you know what I mean, in my late 30s, rocking, you know, power moves and air flares. And then I was walking up the hill one day and my back just got fucked up. So I could still do floor work and pop and all that, but I've been a b-boy as long as I've been painting and all that. Like, you know, I've been a b-boy since I was a fucking little kid, bro. Used to hang out with Air Force Crew and all that shit with Little Caesar, taught me how to break dance, animation, rest in peace, Ruben Flat Top. And so I always was ready, and it was always part of my shit. I never had just like, I'm doing graffiti. I went to the spot to go battle on the mic, to go battle on the floor. So I would literally go, they called me the Renaissance b-boy. Some people that are watching this will remember, oh, that's that motherfucker that would be winded on the mic from doing head spins and to go serve a rapper. Yo, I'm ripping your shit to shreds. And just, so that was my shit, bro. I did all of it. So my style and the homies' styles, and I'm not saying that certain foods copied my styles, but certain foods in my area. And I was also being like, yo, adding yo to my vocabulary when I've never been to New York. You know what I mean? But I was adding that to my vocabulary when I was 16. And then so trying to seem more like Beat Street or some shit, you know, or Wild Style. But yeah, you know, I'm from the streets of LA, and my shit was just straight like B-boy, LA, B-boy, Air Force Crew. I used to sneak out of my house when I was 15 to go to the Dream Center to practice with Little Caesar. And so Little Caesar would be like, Justin, the thing about you, homie, is you're dedicated. Like, I wasn't sneaking out to go do shady shit. I was practicing head spins, literally with a helmet. So that was my shit, bro. I was ready for hip hop, bro. That's my shit. And what sucks is like hip hop has a bad rep right now with all this mumble shit, trap shit. So I'm talking about hip hop as in like MCs freestyling, really freestyling, not writing something and pretending and reciting what they wrote, saying it's a freestyle. B-boying, you know what I mean? Oh, fuck it. You want me to, we going toward the break or want me to, dude, Will.i.am? Should I bring that up? My first lookout.
You know what? Not yet, actually.
Okay.
I'm really interested in the crew, bro.
All right.
First of all, how do you choose the name AAA?
Oh, yeah. Okay, there we go. Sorry. Abstract Aerosol Anomalies.
Oh, is that
Artists
what it
and
is?
assassins, all about art, attacking all authority. You know what I mean? Against all antagonists. But my favorite is Abstract Aerosol Anomalies.
I've never seen anyone use the same letter 3 times. Why do you decide to use the same letter 3 times? Trying to be different? Was there any thought to it?
You remember the video game and shit? When you fucking ran out of time and you won first place and shit? And you're like, and once the shit glitched, I'm like, oh, that's fucking hard, bro. That'll be the first on, separate from A1, that'll be the first on any alphabetical order in any list. And I wasn't thinking about algorithms and shit back then. But yeah, I thought that was cool. I'm like, no one's doing that yet. You know what I mean? And I started my own crew because I could tell you some shit Anger told me, bro, like some crazy shit.
Anger CBS?
Yeah, bro. Anger told me some crazy shit, bro. He said, hey, bro, I'm between me and you, bro. And he didn't say between me and you. I wouldn't be telling you guys because let me tell you something, right? We wanted to get you into the crew when you were like 13 years old, bro, which I think he probably thought I was a little bit younger than I am. So I was probably 14. But we had haters in the crew. I'm not going to say any names, Mir. You know what I mean? But yeah.
we kind of hear sometimes writers mention that the older writers would not give respect to the younger writers. Did you find that in your career? Was
Thank
there
you.
a
Okay.
disconnect between the two eras?
Okay, you know the movie Wild Style?
Yes.
You know Nightmare?
Yes.
Yo, we gotta get this kid Cap, yo. And he's like this small motherfucker. The Cap would beat the shit out of his ass, if not smoke his ass. We gotta get this kid Cap. He's going over all of our graffiti. Okay, so the first 3D piece I was able to do, it's because I had an unlimited paint to paint with, was at the Belmont Tunnel in '95 with Dozer, Slick, Mayor, and I forgot a couple of other cats. I was young, you know what I mean? And fucking, and I sent Slick a message asking him for the name of it, and shit, but he hadn't got back at me. I didn't hear back from him. But this was my initial motivation to graffiti, straight up. I was just going to go catch some tags at the Belmont Tunnel, like a throwy or some shit, because I had two cans, right? And I see fucking like 6 school buses parked inside the Belmont Tunnel and a whole film production crew and floodlights. What the fuck? And then I just have, this fucking serendipitous feeling, and I see fucking thousands of spray cans and boxes with all the colors. I'm like, what the fuck? And I started trying to rack paint, bro. I started like sneaking down like a coyote, grabbing one can at a time. And then Doze walked up, OG Dozer from the East Coast, from New York. I said, hey son, what's up? Yo, what are you doing? You right? And I'm like, yeah. And he saw me. He says, you good? Don't trip. Come over here. I got you. He's like, fucking, and then I just told him who I was. He goes, check this out. You hungry and shit? I'm like, yeah, what's up? He goes, check this out. You got to tell these people you're my little cousin. I'm going to say you're my cousin. I'm going to get you on the production. So first of all, that was my first introduction to the love of OGs right there, homie. And I never got that. And I already painted with Precise, Panic, and who was it? Size at Radiotron. Dude, I forgot about that. Yeah, I painted an alien at Radiotron in a UFO, and I can't find the photo anywhere. Little Caesar might have a photo. But I painted with them, but they kind of like ignored me because they're like, who's this little kid thinking he could just be up to par and paint art? So that's, and I'm not saying they were. Precise was always cool, and Bash, there we go. Bash was always like, give me little pointers. But I was never the one to be like, hey guys, and be on their nuts. So they didn't really just give me advice. You get me? They didn't like take me in. At Belmont Tunnel, those literally treated me like I was his family, homie. And no one's exterior to my family has treated me like that. And then he fucking went and got me on the catering truck and got me fed and said, hey, what's up? Fucking, let me see your shit. And gave me a piece of paper and a pencil, and I just did a quick throw. Dude, fuck that. And he introduced me to the Japanese dude who was doing the production. And the dude gave me a bus to hit, bro, along and put them. These are all OGs right here, bro. And I'm 15 years old, and I became part of the production, bro. And start painting a fucking burner on one of the buses. But they were using me to help the Japanese dude compete with them. So I was on the Japanese dude's side, and he's like the most famous dude at the time, which I'm going to try to do my research and find him. They called him the Michael Jackson of Japan or whatever. So I start painting, and this is when I noticed the duality or the pros and cons of graffiti, all in this couple of hours, bro. My parents, I'm a fucking juvenile. My parents don't know where I'm at, by the way. Fucking Mayor walks up, bro, and tells her, who's this kid? And I'm like, who the fuck is this dude? What the fuck kind of shit? What kind of adult? He said, who's this kid? You know, like, you know what I mean? Whatever. I'm not holding it against him, but yeah, bro, I didn't think that was cool. And then Slick came over, looking dope. I'm like, thank you, big dog. I'm like, he goes, I'm like, what's your name? Da da da. And he told me Slick. I'm like, oh fuck, I got starstruck, bro, because that's all I knew about graffiti was hearing rumors about the Hex and Slick battle, and I remember the photos of it. I never saw the video or none of that shit. I'm like, I fucking had Slicks back from the, like, even before, look, straight up, even before, for the Hex or Slick, I was like, Slick, homie, Slick. I didn't even know, before I even saw the photos, I had Slick's back, bro, just ironically, you know what I mean? Because I thought he had a dope name. And so, this fool rocked some dope shit, some characters, you know, kind of like throwy style with some, like, I think he was doing the This Is It thing. He said, hey, bro, keep doing your thing. I'm like, I forgot what I asked him, and he just gave me a lot of pointers right then and there. He says, just do your thing, fuck what anyone said. And he didn't hear Mayor diss me or be rude to me. This was all separate, so it was a weird synchronicity keep doing your thing, and bro, like, you know, you got your own shit. And then I kept practicing. And then years later, fast forward to 2003, I'm painting my wall right there. I just repainted now. I got a couple touch-ups to do on Hoover and Santa Monica. And I see some dude like scoping me out, like scoping my wall out, going like, all right, homie. Like, what? Like he's giving me props. Like I had a dope lowrider or something. He's like, all right. I'm like, I know you. I'm like, slick. He's like, what's up? I'm like, dude, what's up, big dog? I got one more spot, homie. You down the Rockies? I don't paint anymore, homie, but you know what? I'll rock with you, homie. I like your shit. It'll be dope. I'll try to get green too. And so, yeah, that fool came and blessed me. He did some dope ass shit too, you know what I mean? He did some shit with a house that in lines, like it was like a Shaolin like building, but it lines with the house behind the building. And yeah, dude, it all worked out. But Slick and Doze were my main inspirations, I'll be straight up from the get-go.
As you create AAA and are recruiting new members, are there any writers that want to get into AAA that you deny who later turn out to be big name writers?
Depends on what you consider big names. There were dudes that were from the crew that actually won that, you know, that Fupaisa used to be from the crew. And we just had a misunderstanding, you know what I mean? I don't know how personal he took it, but yeah, he was from the crew though, you know what I mean? But it was just for a couple of weeks and shit. I'm not putting anybody on blast and talk about our discrepancy. That's unnecessary, you know what I mean? That's like defamating the both of us, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that was the homie back in the days.
Were there any crews that AAA would always be with or go riding with? Did you have any?
Well, in the early 2000s, GAW, almost like synonymous because like they're all my homies and shit. I don't have any dude from that crew I don't get along with or that's ever hated. Deuce, the head of that crew, is like a good friend of mine, like my boy and shit. You know, Prone, that's my homie. So there's not many crews that openly just painted with me, but I used to be from KOG and LTS in the late 90s, from like late 96 to 2000.
We'll actually get to that part of your story real soon, but first, I want to know, as you're writing Krang, you develop the AAA crew, you're recruiting new writers. Mm-hmm. When does the name Butcher come into play? Can you tell us where that name comes from?
Butcher kind of was just like most of my letter schemes, and that wasn't like not until 98, you know what I mean? My letter schemes, and I started doing both. I kind of like acclimated Butcher in with Krang. And I was always the type that never had, like I can never, and this is not dissing anybody, depend on other writers to come through and finish my productions, because I would get a whole wall. I would like go, you know, try to get a whole wall. And so you'd see Butcher, and I'd have a whole nother burner spot, so I would hit up a Krang there with another scheme to keep it like it was two different people in a total different style. But it was my scheme that made me choose that name, because people, not everyone knows who Krang is or what Krang is, but people know what a butcher does. And
what does a butcher do?
He chops shit up, and he's very precise with detail, and he delineates things precisely, and that's what my style is. I do chrome. I was doing a lot of chrome, three-dimensional stuff, but not like the three-dimensional stuff you see overseas where they're going for humongous like two-story letters, where I'm getting down there with the thin tip and slicing it up and chopping it up freehand like that. You know what I mean? Literally going off the dome, bro. That's what I do. Just like a rap. It's a freestyle rap, you know?
Do you tell your friends about your new name?
Yeah. Everyone,
what do they say? What's their reaction to it?
My dad, rest in peace, my dad was the funniest about it, like, because he'd have apple juice in the fridge, and I would hit up his apple juice, and the food like, Butcher. You butchered my apple juice.
You know what? I actually want to go back about your dad. What does your dad say when you're, was it community service and they lay down all the pictures that you got caught and your dad realizes it was you? What does he say to you?
Dude, I don't even remember, bro. I just remember I felt stupid as fuck, dude. Like, he was, look, my dad was very, for how he could have been, very open about my art and very, like, nice dude. You know what I mean? I don't know how to explain it. Like, I was intimidated on him because he was a big dude, you know what I mean? But I can't remember, bro. That's crazy. Yeah, like I remember just the look on his face. Like it's the same look when he was picking me up from juvenile hall and shit like that. Like the look on his face was enough to me. Like, okay, I know that. Like I can't do certain shit. He's not gonna beat my ass. You know, I'm already big and shit. Like, but yeah, bro. Like I just remember feeling like, oh fuck, cause I lived with them. You know what I mean? Like, yeah,
You're giving your dad headaches. Does he ever does he ever talk to you about quitting graffiti?
Oh,
And why don't you quit?
Rest in peace, bro. Like, what? What?
You're giving your dad headaches.
Fuck.
I'm sure he spoke to you about quitting.
I stressed
Why
my
don't
dad
you
the
quit?
fuck out, bro. Like, not just with graffiti, but with like gang shit, like stupid shit. You know what I mean? No, they supported me, bro. That's gonna say it wasn't like fucking Ramo's dad in Beat Street or like, when are you gonna get a job and stop doing this stupid graffiti shit? In cariño. My dad, they supported my shit. When I'm not gonna mention any names, a very well-known, actually famous graffiti writer. Him and I had a beef. Where fucking he slashed my shit and then I slashed his shit. He came back to the hood and dissed my production and put a white line. And just so you know, if you're listening to It's All Love, I'm not hating. I'm not mad. My dad said, "Fuck that shit. We're gonna go fucking camp in the station wagon overnight and let this fool come back and fucking try this shit again." So my dad had my back on the fucking on my art. You know what I mean? Because he knew that was my art. He just didn't like the fact that it was public domain and I couldn't fucking take it with me. You get my point? In public domain, meaning Cadillac used my work for an advertisement on the LA Weekly, where they parked in front of my wall and fucking had my whole shit and even my shit reflecting on the vehicle. We went to Gil Garcetti's office. My dad knew him, ironically, and explained the situation. Can we monetize this? Can we capitalize off this? And he goes, no, because graffiti is public domain. If it was in a studio and they signed, that'd be a different story, but it's public domain. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's his discrepancy was me not being able to take it somewhere. So he liked when I painted on canvas. He supported my art and music like all the way. You know, him and my mom.
Now that you have your name Butcher, you have your crew, it's making noise in the street. What's the mission for your crew and yourself now? Are you trying to get known? Are you trying to get paid? Are you trying to... What's the purpose of graffiti? Why do you do it?
I just battle shit, bro. Like that competitive, like hip hop shit. And I know it's not just hip hop because it's something that was packaged in, like one gentleman mentioned, but just for the love of doing these things, this obscure, we used to call it the Ghetto Olympics, like Radiotron, bro. Like that was Ghetto Olympics. We go do our ghetto shit, and people are like, this is ghetto shit, bro. You're interviewing me about fucking graffiti, bro. Like that's amazing to me. Like every interview I've had, I have to shut the fuck up and be someone else, or I'm not gonna get the job. This is me telling the truth, bro. Like, and so yeah, that's my mission was always just for my artwork to be seen by more than just my peers. You know what I mean? For me to reach out to people overseas and see like, hey, look what we're contributing. It's not just like these two-dimensional letters. Like, I'm on some fucking H.R. Geiger, fucking MC Escher, on some fucking Robert Venosa. That's, rest in peace, one of my favorite artists. You know what I mean? But I'm trying to take it to the next level, and it definitely has a psychedelic influence, and that was one of my motivators, dimethyltryptamine and lysergic acid diethylamide. And some of the dudes that weren't on board with me on my realness, bro, like, fuck it, I want to do this. With the b-boy pose, that's what kind of extracted certain fools from my little kind of like way I wanted to do it. Straight hip hop, bro, like for the love of hip hop. And separate from that, like skating, bro, I was a skater my whole life, fucking all that shit. I b-box, all that shit, bro, all of it, you know what I mean?
Butcher, as you're experimenting on the streets, to my knowledge, in the early 90s, you're the first, if not the first writer in Los Angeles to do 3D wild style letters.
Thank you.
Can you please talk about how that innovation came about?
12-ounce profits, can control, magazines. I remember seeing Ernie, specifically, the graffiti artist from New York, was the only one doing 3D letters. The way I drew was kind of a vector type format, you know what I mean? I knew how to do pieces already, But the way I drew was kind of like a computer realistic style where I was fading with a pencil and doing that. So the way I learned how to paint was starting with the fades, your center point, and not just doing a fill-in, an outline, and stuff like that. So when I saw Ernie's shit, I'm like, dude, I could do that shit. And props to him. I'm just saying, it motivated me to see something that I could do that looked dope. I liked that, and I gravitated towards that as opposed to like the wild style shit. And so I'm like, I want to do that, but more intricate. And that's my honest answer. Like, I wasn't familiar with other dudes overseas doing 3D shit because I guess I wasn't seeing all their shit. And no disrespect to anyone that was doing it, props. But Ernie was my inspiration when it comes to styles in certain magazines that like, and I didn't have the magazines. They were like ones that Yoda had or one of my friends had or my brother had, something like that. And so out in LA, and thank you, first of all, in LA, that was what I wanted to do. And it didn't seem like I got my props at first because I thought it looked cool. I'm like, I would look at my shit and be like, fuck it, you know what? I'm going to fucking add a shine right there, go from black and gold like a full drawing. You know what I mean? Because I didn't want to limit myself to a 3D. To a two-dimensional piece. So then I would, when I was done with my main 3D piece, I would do a two-dimensional piece like a burner on the side that was still a full piece. But yeah, I just wanted to do that. That's the way I paint, and that's what looked cool to me. And like in letter structure, I practiced prior to that, to trying to fit that into like a three-dimensional holographic vector type of style where I could do transparent, where I could do chrome, I could do monochromatic, and all sorts of stuff. You know what I mean? And that was, I just wanted to do my thing, and that was me. And I didn't have any internal inspiration to do it. You get my point? It was LA. The once Braille said when I was like, dude, fucking da-da-da, he's like, fool, fuck it. You're the only one I know that does Braille LTS, does wild style West Coast gangster 3Ds. And that made me feel good. And that kind of emphasized, I kind of like ran with that. And like, I paint. If you see my style, this is, and I've noticed myself, I paint like I'm worried about getting blasted and the cops pulling me over while I'm doing my piece. So you see those strokes like, oh, that was ducking from some bullets or some shit. It's real talk, bro. And that's that LA tag banger fucking shit, like that incorporated into my style, basically. You know what I mean? And I own that because I look at other people. There's some dope dudes, bro, online and they're overseas, and they're so fucking humble, bro. They communicate with me. Dudes doing fucking 20-story buildings, bro, 3D pieces. I'm like, fuck. And then this was giving me props on my fucking piece. You know, I'm like, dude, I want to fly these dudes down when I get some money and do a production with them. And that's what Graffiti's at right now and shit. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's my thing, bro. It's West Coast, fucking West Side, fucking chrome shit, bro. Fucking Robot, Robotech, Gundam, Pat LeBar, Japanimation shit. That's me. I originated that shit here on the West Coast, at least, bro.
What was
And
that?
thank you.
What was that early feedback you were getting on the streets, though? Because it was something no one had really seen
Early
in Los
feedback
Angeles.
was like, who the fuck is this kid? That's not graffiti because no one was doing that shit out here. Like, that's just my opinion. And then fools down the road showed love. Like, I remember, like, but at the same time, I was always the dude that thought everyone was hating until someone told me someone wasn't hating until they confronted me and gave me love. Like Nuke from UTI. I painted with, I gotta back up. In '96, I painted with him, forgot the town. It was a Cinco de Mayo parade, and we painted a bunch of jalapenos and shit. But yeah, Nuke, UTI. Pryor once ran into me, he was buzzed at some event. He goes, butcher, motherfucker. Motherfucker, when I go to Hollywood and shit, anywhere past fucking downtown, that's you, motherfucker. That's you, motherfucker. So Pryor, those fools have showed love. You know what I mean? A lot of fools showed love. You know what I mean?
In your work, you show a lot of depth and mechanical influence. Is that fair to say? Why does that catch your eye, that type of style?
That's my culture, bro. And if that makes any sense, me being mixed, and, you know, like say if I was full African American, would I be drawing something that was African based? Or if I was Mexican, would I be doing Mayan stuff or Aztec stuff? You know what I mean? My homie's Mexican, he does fucking dope ass Aztec tattoos and detailed realistic shit. You know what I mean? He's dope, and that's my homie from the crew, my homie Skits. And we've had this conversation, I've seen African Americans marketing their culture and doing like African style stuff and medallions and stuff, and they can market that. Me, I've never been able to market a culture, it's not because I'm mixed. It's because I don't culture to me is like the same as culture in a petri dish. It's something that develops and separates you from your actual internal visions. And so I see the future. Does that make any sense? I'm a futurist. I like the Matrix, mechanical, fucking cyberpunk. That's always been my shit. So that's my actual culture. That's what I've been influenced by. I do electronic music. It goes good with my art, the music I make. It's all one and the same. You know what I mean? It's just like breakdancing, comparing an air flare to a fucking 360 flip and shit like that. It's yeah. So that was.
I want to take a left turn real quick. From a lot of your artwork, as you mentioned, you do aliens, spaceships. I saw a recent acrylic canvas you did with an alien as well. What are your thoughts on aliens? Are you trying to send us a message, a signal or something?
I didn't plan on going there, bro. Yeah, fuck yeah, bro. Damn, you want me to go there?
Yes.
All right. In 2001, I was with this dude Tick, who used to be from my crew, and I used to live at Braille's house from LTS, and we fucking got some acid, and it wasn't a lot. I've taken a lot of acid, bro, and this wasn't a lot. This was a small amount. So whatever happened right now had nothing to do with the fucking acid. We were tapped into some frequency. We went, and me and Tick rode our bikes up to a water tower, a Polycrest, right below the Hollywood sign. It was around 9 o'clock. Damn, this is gonna fucking about to go viral with this shit, bro. I'm sorry. This is real shit. This is coming from the heart. This is on the hood, bro. I'm telling you some real shit. I haven't told a lot of people this. So we go to the water tower on our bikes, and I'm getting some sort of fucking download, bro. And I won't go prior to this. I had a similar experience where I felt something was threatening me. An object was threatening me telepathically. And so, I can't believe you asked me about fucking aliens. Okay, so, and I didn't know that was possible. I'm like, what the fuck is threatening me? And it's in my head. And somebody was asking me questions. I'm like, chill, fool. Like, I couldn't explain to them. So this is a month after that. We're on LSD. And I know I feel like information I didn't know is coming to me, dude. And I don't know how I'm getting this information. Like, literally, I fucking plugged my finger into a thumb drive into some server, and it was giving me information. And I started preaching it to this dude. I'm like, hey, fool, there's ley line points, the Earth energy grid. Dude, I went into so much detail, and I wasn't educated on it. And out of nowhere, while I was telling him this shit, I saw an object which looked like a star. It looked like Venus, like one of the brightest objects in the sky. From about where Lookout Mountain was. I don't know if people are familiar with that. It was the old naval test grounds, but it was probably a lot further over the horizon, westbound of us. And then I'm like, telling him all this shit, and he's like, shocked. He's like, how do you know all this? How do you know all this stuff? He's like all scared of me because I'm telling, then I'm like, fucking, I don't know, but all I know is that shit's coming to us right now because that shit threatened me. So while I'm telling all this shit told me, hey, homie, you better shut the fuck up, homie. You're spilling the beans. Like, this dude was threatening me like I was in the pen or something. Hey, homie, you better shut the fuck up, homie. You're gonna get shanked. This shit. Like, some crazy fool was, I'm like, fuck you, homie. Come handle your shit, homie. Fuck you. And that's how I am with anybody, bro. No one's gonna threaten me, bro. This was and this is telepathic. This motherfucker said, oh yeah, homie? You're not afraid of me? And so that's when I answered his question. How do you know all this shit? I said, I don't know, homie, but all I know is that shit said it's coming right now. That shit's coming right now, homie. Within 3 seconds, that shit expanded and fucking was in front of us about 50 feet. A bright light, bro. A coronal, like, discharge, like, beams around it, but with no propellers, because my first instinct was a fucking Apache helicopter. It's too loud. It wasn't a propeller. It was like a low-pitch horn, like 1,000 fucking 5.0 Mustangs revving at full capacity. And it set off a frequency that paralyzed us. I don't know if that's the right definition. It was some sort of paralysis, but we were connected to our bikes standing up. And we couldn't move. So I was shitting bricks, but not to the point where I was paralyzed, and we couldn't do shit, bro. It was just in front of us, and after a few seconds, the shit just went at the speed of light eastbound. And we were able to move again. And we thought, oh, fuck. And then I felt like the men in black were after us or something, and we just fucking biked down the hill back to Braille's. And that fool Sloth and Braille were there. This fool got into it with Sloth. He's like, fuck you, nigga. He just was having a bad trip. The dude that was with me because he thought saw the devil. I don't know what the fuck he saw, and I couldn't talk, bro. I literally couldn't talk, and Braille handed me a canvas. Hey, fool. He's like, what happened, fool? I'm like, and then I painted the sickest fucking cat. He just handed me my bag of supplies and a canvas, and he's just, maybe you can paint, fool. And I painted the sickest fucking fried out painting and shit. He probably still has it to this day. I don't know what the fuck happened to it. But yeah, bro, that happened. And I've had so much other shit. Minor things happen. I've seen things, atmospheric bioforms, multiple UFOs. My children have seen them. All of my kids have seen them. Yeah, but I can't prove what's alien. But I know something that didn't seem man-made, bro. You know what I mean? That seemed like some other shit. It was in my mind. It told me, and it warned me. Said, hey, fool, fucking... Yeah, so yeah, and DMT. That's when I've met the light beings, bro. The ones that know me and love me, bro. That's who I'm connected with.
Can you tell us about a DMT experience that has made an impact on you? We've never tried DMT, but we hear some people do it to contact other realms or other dimensions.
So I would be here for 5 hours if we continued this part of the conversation. So I'm going to just explain one profound trip I had. So my homie Prone from GAW was having a bad trip where like he fucking came to my house. He's like, hey, fool, fucking. And he had, you know what I mean? He's like, fucking, I need to smoke something. I'm like, what? And I was fucking with him, and he's like, fucking, just, I don't give a fuck, fool, just pack me something. And he's talking about hash or, you know, weed or some shit. So I fuck with him, and I pack him a fucking load of fucking DMT, you know what I mean? And sat him outside my yard, and this fool hits it, and I go inside to give him his privacy, you know what I mean? And then, and he had never blasted off before. That's blasting off is to smoke DMT and go all the way in. And so I come out, and I wasn't planning on doing it myself that day. I come out, and then this was sitting, the pipe's on the floor. He's like this with his hands. He's like, holy shit. So I saw that fractal, that spider web thing, everything you talked about, I get it now. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Then I got jealous, you know what I mean? That was some good shit. And so that night, I thought, okay, I'm going to do it tonight. I'm going to smoke that shit out the fucking bong. Fuck it. Not just out the pipe, out the bong, right? Big ass bong like that. And then, but then I noticed I had a headache. I'm like, fuck, dude, I want to blast off tonight. I can do that shit with that strongest psychedelic known to man with a fucking headache. That's that, fuck it, dude. I'm not going to just fuck it, dude, anyway. And so then I put this mat down. I did it all like ceremonial style. I laid this mat down. I put the bong right there. I said, fucking idiot, fool. Don't do this with a headache. Nah, fuck it, dude. Just do it. And I fucking ripped it. And then I'm like, and it started creeping. And the way to do it, you hit it, and then fucking let it creep, and then finish the rest of it and hold it as long as you can, and you exhale, right? Following the rules of instructions by Terence McKenna. The headache, I feel the headache. I start to emphasize on the headache. So I'm like, oh, what the fuck? Why did you do this? And I felt like it just became this headache trip. And then I'm like, I felt a knot right here in my shoulder or my back, and then I just put pressure on it, and then I lied down real quick on the mat, hit it a second time. Dude, it felt like I popped something in my shoulder that released something, and the headache was fucking neutralized, bro, like completely gone. And then I'm like, what the fuck? I've never felt a migraine, because I've gotten since I was a kid, a headache just completely go away, bro. Or like, how is this possible? And the shit was creeping on me. And then I was lying down, and then I start to look up, and I see a basketball, like a monochromatic, but like with a slight tinge of like fucking turquoise basketball. And what the fuck? Like literally like the size of a basketball. You know how the seams of the basketball? And what the fuck? And then I'm starting to realize, I don't know what the fuck that is, but I remember Terence McKenna talking about self-dribbling basketball. So I think it was kind of like a psychosomatic thing of me bringing someone else's philosophy into my trip. So I'm like, what the fuck is this? So I went closer to look. I don't know what I looked closer, bro, on the hood. That was an eyeball, homie. It was a closed reptilian eyeball, but it was sending love vibrations. It wasn't sending, like, I'll bite your head off. And what it was the eyeball of a fucking dragon. The dragon was guarding some sort of porthole or something. This is right in my room where I still live right now. And I said, fuck it, with no fear. And I didn't touch it, but I went close enough, like a few inches from it, to look at the scales of the dragon, and it was sleeping. That's why the eyes were closed. I could see it fluctuating and breathing. It was gears upon gears of multiple shapes, hexagonal patterns, and I have a painting on my Instagram that I painted the day after. Actually, Justin Bua owns it. I gave it to him years ago. But it's multiple shapes and weird sacred geometry, but that I'm actually freestyling. And what I saw was impossible to reduplicate with our bandwidth of what we see here. I was seeing colors that are impossible. And so then I back up, and then I see a porthole, right? It was like a light porthole going through my ceiling, and it was some light beings, and I don't know why, because I couldn't see them, but I could feel them, and I sensed them as like kind of like the movie Cocoon, and they asked me to chant. And so I said, chant? What the fuck? Well, like, because that's what would entertain them, and what they wanted to hear was a chant, and I knew the chant, and it was like like a Buddhist chant, and I did that. And I know, see, right now, I went, and it kind of went like that. So I had to sit up, and I did it, bro. And these fools applaud me, dude. They said, we love you. All of them, they're like, wow. Like, it felt like I was fucking, dude, Rakim at a show in the Bronx in front of everybody. Like, yo, like, they treated me like, dude, I had tears in my eyes, bro. It's like, what the fuck? And that was like 10 years ago, bro. And then so a couple months ago, I can't even explain what happened, bro. I can't even explain what happened. And if you see my style, my wild style, you can see the progression of my style. You can see it in my style. It's part of that grid that I see on the DMT trip. I went to the future. I saw some straight magician dude at some like theme park shit. He was like, look behind the robe, and there was some shit. And then all these fonts and letter schemes came up, and I'm like, dude, that's one. I can't even explain it. It's like I came back, I opened my eyes, I said, what the fuck? What the fuck? And then I had the nerve to blast off, bro, at a fucking graveyard, bro. Like, I'm fearless, obviously. At a graveyard where my wife's father's buried. And I said, fuck it. I blasted off by his burial site in the car. And I hit that shit, and at first I'm like, fuck, I got paranoid because of the security guard. I'm like, they see me, like, are they tripping on me and shit? And then I tripped on the palm trees for a while, and then I looked at then I decided to, fuck it, don't worry, fearless. Look at the tombstones, homie. I looked at thousands of tombstones. Dude, I saw thumbnails, with print and index on the thumbnail saying, this is John Doe. He was born in 1942. Okay, stop looking over there, bro. I was seeing detail, and that's what it does. It breaks everything down to a more technical understanding. Dude, we're not alone. And DMT, whether it's taking you to a porthole and connecting us to something light years away, or if it's something in a parallel dimension, it's something that is definitely real, if not more real, once you see. Like, I cannot say me sitting here physically is more real than these entities in that realm. And I think it's like an ocean coinciding that's constantly moving amongst us. So when you go there, you have a different experience because it's moving in a different direction. Hexagonally, I don't know, or orthogonal timelines like Philip K. Dick would talk about, but there's something else there, and it's real as fuck because you're able to bring it back. That's a transferable point. That's what I do with my art. And back to who taught me, self-taught with little help, you know what I mean?
Butcher, as the crew is gaining momentum and your fame is rising, you also encounter a young up-and-coming musical artist named will.i.am from the Black Eyed Peas. How do you first meet Will?
I met Will originally at the Peace and Justice Center with Playboy Eddie, and I'm not sure if it was late '94 or early '95 with and I think originally they were the At Band Clan, and that was the name of their group, and it was him, Apple, and Taboo. And they all have freestyle skills, particularly Will, bro. That's what I'm saying. This, like, I have no clue, because people have seen all his mainstream work. That fool is a fucking amazing freestyle rapper. till this day. You know what I mean? That fool used to just rip the mic, and they all had a style. But yeah, I met him there because I would go and b-boy at Foundation, and I would freestyle, would hit the mic, and I would b-boy at Foundation. So we would always have ciphers together. So I kind of grew up with them, but they were older than me. You know what I mean?
Who was a better freestyler, you or Will at the time?
I was he of course and shit, because I was a kid, bro. But I've always had skills since I was little and shit. But he's always he would but do I get up at the wheel like and let you know I said in the flow. He had a whole swagger, bro, like with his fucking collars and leather jackets. They were on some other shit, bro. They weren't like, yo, hip hop, I grabbed the microphone and flip flop these. It was some other new shit. So yeah, but that motherfucker was the first one to tell me, like, so it moved from the Peace and Justice Center to SIPA Filipino Community Center on Temple Street, and I used to just always have paint on me, just have, you know, random cans on me, and I was just talking out of my ass, and right there was a property that was under construction, so they just had a fucked up like 6-foot concrete wall right there across the street, and I'm like, fuck, and I made an excuse. I'm like, fuck, I didn't think this fool was down with GRAFF like that and shit. And I'm like, if I had a look, I would rock that shit right now. He goes, I'll be the fool. I'll go handle it. Will.
Will like, I Am is your lookout.
Yeah, fool. The fool's down. He's a street motherfucker, bro. Like, that fool's down with the business. That fool's like, yeah, I got you, fool. Go handle it. I'm like, fuck.
You gotta do it now.
He put me on blast. So this is 95, bro. I fucking go across the street with my backpack and just caught it like a throw up. I did like a fucking 5-can fucking piece with a yellow outline and shit and a character. And this fool fucking, and the cops did pass that once, this fool whistled, and so he actually looked out. He was a solid motherfucker. And yeah, that was the homie, bro. He fucking looked out for me. That's one of my first solo burners publicly was Will I Am, homie. Black Eyed Peas and shit.
Did Will I Am write as well? Did he have an undercover name?
He did, but I don't remember, you know what I mean? Because he wasn't doing it as much like that. Me, I was like a little kid fucking tagger. You know, like most of the dudes that were doing pieces weren't doing that shit, so they weren't all about me. I was the fool with my book that would be just like the graffiti dude coming up. But I know he wrote, and probably Apple did too. I don't know what Taboo wrote, you know what I mean, back then, but I'm pretty sure all three of those fools are writers and shit.
You yourself, you come from a musical influenced family.
Yes.
Do you and Will ever discuss music together? Did you know he was on a trajectory to fame?
I heard that they were signed to fucking Ruthless back then, and that's when Eazy-E died, so that's why it took so long for them to blow up, because they would start signed back then. But I didn't know that. Like, I wasn't doing it like that. I was just a kid that would just battle other people on the mic. This fool had a professional thing the whole time. Like, he was already, like, aimed for success. You could tell he knew he was going to be successful. I never had plans of success as a rapper because I never saw those opportunities, really, without people telling me to say certain shit. So it was just freestyle, battle rapper. And I'm still the same to this day, you know what I mean? And that's why me as a rapper, I'm putting that dude on blast. Like, they've heard tonight, and that the mainstream stuff. No, dude, he's not that auto-tune dude. That fool will fucking rip a hole in your ass on the mic, bro. He's sick with it and shit. Like,
in the latest episode of Drink Champs, Will says he grew up in East LA.
yeah.
Did you get that sense that he knew what was up with
Yeah, because so I grew up in East Hollywood, Silver Lake, and I have that same influence, the Blolo. I'm actually a Blolo. I'm a black cholo, homie. I'm black, white, Native American. I'm not Mexican. I'm not raza. But when I get institutionalized, I'm a sureño. When the shit cracked off in the county jail, the blacks knew I was black because I was open. I was in Pill Mod. This is what they, get that nigga. When the shit happened, they put it right at me, and I was front line. So he knows the deal, dude. That fool, he grew up in East Los, I think on 8th Street over there in Boyle Heights. And so, yeah, bro, I could relate to him because he sounded like me. That's why I always thought originally that he was like something else, like from Panama or some shit like that, because he had that lingo, you know what I mean? I don't really have the lingo. You don't even hear it in my voice, but when I'm talking to the homie, they're like, Simón, serio pedo, palabra, and all that shit, you know what I mean? Because that's where I grew up.
Before you meet Will I Am before the Black Eyed Peas, what were your thoughts when the Black Eyed Peas forms and they become a trio? Because they were making a lot of noise around the Silver Lake area.
Oh, they were?
It seemed like it was a hotbed of music back in those days.
Because there was Jurassic 5, you know what I mean? Charlie Tuna. There was also Motley. I know that wasn't the same thing, but I remember certain groups that were around. I looked at Black Eyed Peas. It wasn't just my area. That was like, they were, you know, because I remember they had think, what's her name? Kathy LeChuga was on one of their albums, and she was like, Frogtown. They were all over the place, bro. So, I remember him. I'm telling you, bro, before the mainstream shit, I don't know how the mainstream shit happened with Fergie. Was that the chick's name, Fergie? But prior to that, bro, this was just like a sick rapper and b-boy. What am I saying? I'm sorry, I gotta say that. These fools had some weird moves, bro. Like, there we go. It's like a hep cat. Like, like a weird jazz b-boy shit with like a scarf and shit. So they were always on some shit that they were gonna get recognized by someone on a higher echelon of entertainment. It wasn't just like the hip hop scene. You get my point? So that's what I could say about their development. When they blew up, I ran into Will with my first baby mama, my oldest son, 23, Zion, with his mom, and we were kind of already broken up, but we were at Jamba Juice, and they were already touring Famous, bro. He goes to her and goes, Justin, grabs me, gives me a hug, goes, and tells her, do you know who the fuck he is? And checks my baby mama, telling you better respect him. This fool's the shit, and just show me so much love, bro. So, yeah, that's my boy right there, bro. Like, that was hard. Like, I got to look at it like I told you. You know what I mean?
Sweet. You've had a long, illustrious career with encounters with several well-known names, as you are yourself.
Thank you.
Another well-known name is Braille, LTS.
Oh, yeah.
At some point in your career, you two become roommates.
Yeah, I used to live
True.
with that
Can you
fool.
tell us about how you first meet him?
I met Braille originally at Elmo's house, Elmo's Sloth, on Heliotrope, right there across the street from LACC and shit. And Sloth got me into KOG, and I was from KOG. And then I didn't know, I just knew Retna. Retna used to write Moses. And he used to come over and kick it. Zaz would come over. All the original dudes used to come and kick it. And then when Braille came over, we kind of clicked. You know what I mean?
Did all the LTS know who you were? Did they know who Butcher AAA was?
Well, I wasn't Butcher yet. I was still Krang.
Okay.
And so the issue was there were certain people from LTS that didn't agree with my stilo because I would hit up AAA first when I would hit up my shit. And they went, well, you should hit up LTS first. But when LTS came around, because in some cases it was like dudes were from KOG then got into LTS, it was just my thing was based off of like my friendship with the homie and then me like, because I didn't, you know how most of the dudes would incorporate some of the homies' letter steez. You know, I can literally say I remember dudes coming over to Braille's house and fucking copying his shit. And I'm not saying any names right now, but yeah, there's several people that it was okay because they're from the crew. You get my point? And that's kind of like when it ended up being like, Braille would tell me certain shit like, hey, and he had a history on shit, bro. He knew certain things, and certain fools would come over like Whisk, certain fools would come over. I would meet fools just like living with Braille and shit, and I lived upstairs and shit. There was books and people would repeat, and it was okay because they were crew, but my thing was always the 3D, so that could be like why it was my excuse to do that kind of style with my 3D work. You know what I mean? Like, for instance, that one that I have that we did, the Rest in Peace Air at the Belmont Tunnel years ago, like, we all collaborated on the letters, and I did the character, incorporated my letters, but that was always my angle, was to do detailed shit, and Braille is definitely one of the innovators that people would just look at his shit, and not just saying from his crew, there were dudes from other crews that straight bit his shit. You know what I mean? I'm not going to mention their names to get political because it was never okay to do that. You know what I mean? And I don't know how detailed I should get. And then there were a lot of group kids that were in LTS that went and got into another well-known crew. And that's when I kind of was like not all about that because the homie's telling me like, hey, fool, stick with the homie, you know what I mean? Don't get into that other crew because they're trying to get fools in and shit. And a lot of fools got in and dropped in. I'm like, okay, I'm not about that. I'm going to keep it solid with mine and shit. And so, yeah, Braille was definitely an innovator. And I don't have anything like... I don't want to get into details. I'm not going to like speak bad on him. But recently, my homie Creed from LTS told me Brett was running his mouth. So I'm not going to say anything bad. But I know he's not having the best of times. But I wish that dude was out painting again because he was the originator of certain styles. And also Sinner. You know what I mean? Sinner's an OG of that style that was just up for grabs for fools to kind of like do because they're from that crew. And I see there's a lot of cats now that aren't from that crew doing that style all overseas and all that shit. So, yeah, but Braille's definitely one of the innovators and shit, you know what I mean?
Do the two of you ever discuss techniques?
I hadn't
you being an innovator and himself being an innovator.
Well, I hadn't talked to Braille, bro, like going on 20 years now, bro. Like, But we used to paint together, bro. We used to just kick it and fucking get high, take psychedelics, and fucking work on books and shit and work on little random shit. Splash. Dude, once this fool just splashed paint on my shit and I got pissed, fool. He said, no, I just want you to break that shit down, fool. Like, yeah, we used to just, look, that dude I'll say this though, he put a lot of politics in my head about other dudes that I kept as fact that turned against me with other dudes being like, okay, I'll fuck it. Can I say it? Dude, fuck it, dude. I was going to get out of politics. Rusto was the homie. We all kicked it at Rusto's house. And Dame lives with Rusto. We go, and this is later on, we're kicking it, and I have a new painting I just did. Saber and Revoke show up. And this is before all those dudes got an MSK that were from LTS. Saber and Revoke show up, and then Braille says, hey, fool, fucking hide your painting, fool. These fools are going to bite your shit, fool. And that's on the hood. That Braille said that shit. So I fucking tried to stash my painting in the cut. Fucking Revoke saw that shit. He saw me like, I thought it was a hidden painting, fool. After that, that's when I started kind of getting hated on a little bit. And I had my little sting with Saber and shit. You know what I mean? It was because I didn't follow that program that everyone was following. And it was because the homies saying, hey, these fools are going to copy your shit. Not saying they would have, but I had someone whispering in my ear, and I think that had a detrimental effect on my popularity and the facts of who was actually catching all these walls in Los Angeles at the time and shit. And you know the history of Los Angeles graffiti art, Volume 2?
Yes.
The centerfold is my work, but it doesn't say my name. It says someone else. So like, yeah, I'm gonna find a photo of it, but that's my work. It's my piece is the centerfold and shit. You know what I mean? But yeah, Brell was the homie, but my homie Creed from LTS, which he had an accident, so he has brain damage right now. He was one of my best friends as well. I hadn't talked to him in years, and he told me that Brell was, you know, on some other shit. And so that's all I know, because Creed is a good friend of mine. Fish is a good friend of mine. They're solid. Say So's the homie, you know what I mean? I got love for their crew and shit still. Has not, like, with no malice or anything like that. But Bro and I used to be like really tight, bro. You know what I mean? So I don't know why he would be like with some other fool who happens to be a hater. Two other dudes, I'm not mentioning their names. Fuck Butcher, fuck Butcher. My homie said that he saw Bro like, haha, fuck Butcher. But he must have just been high out of his mind, bro. That's all I'm saying. Because, yeah.
You also mentioned that you for a short time were in LTS and KOG yourself.
Yeah, for about.
Can you please let us know how that comes about?
From 96 to till 2002, I think it was.
That long? Wow.
Yeah. It's because
First, how do they get you in? Do they
they jumped me in, huh? No, I'm just joking. No, fucking it was just me painting with Braille basically, and then him introducing me to like center at a meeting and shit like that. So they would have a KOG LTS meeting, and if you were from KOG, then they brought you to the KOG LTS meeting. And KOG, I didn't have to do anything to get in. Let me just said I was from KOG. And the reason I got out was because I had dudes like this. So they'd go to Braille's house and eat, fuck it, dude, J-Rock, LTS, KOG, he'd be like, once he said it, he's like, I don't know about this nigga, like, he's cool, but he be kicking with these other niggas. Like, what the fuck is that? That's my crew I started, bro. Like, and so I got love for J-Rock, but you shouldn't be suspicious of me because I have another crew. That's my crew. So that was one of the reasons I wasn't that close with many fools. There's a lot of productions and roll calls my name wasn't in, even though fucking I was there and I rocked the burner. But separate from that, it was because I said if they got certain dudes in that were haters and hated on my crew and beefed it with my crew, bro was like, hey, we're going to get so-and-so in and we're going to get so-and-so in. And I'm like, hey, fuck those fools, homie. I'm going to fuck them up if you get them in, bro. He's like, come on, just the homies. And he got them in. That's when I dropped it, bro, because it's like I'm not going to be from a crew of fools that dissed my other homies and shit like that. You know what I mean?
Understood. But as you joined LTS and KOG, there's another legendary writer in that crew at the time making an assault on Los Angeles called Ayer.
Yeah,
LTS KOG. Do you ever meet Ayer?
Yeah, bro.
Can you please tell us about first meeting him and how that interaction was like between
I met Ayer at the arena, bro, in '95. And that fool would post up in the parking lot trying to start shit with rebels. He was from some like rebel crew called RK, Rebel Killers and shit. And I'm a fighter, bro. I've trained in martial arts, Shaolin Kung Fu, Taekwondo and karate since age 6, bro. I specialize in the inch punch. I've never lost a fight in my life, and I've been in a lot of fights. So that's one thing that's kind of helped my graffiti in a way, and also made it dangerous because I was about like, so I got along with other fools that weren't afraid of shit. And like he was like that, and Zest was like that too. Zest was always down to get down and shit. And that's why I respect certain fools because they got hands, and that fool had hands. So that, I didn't even know that's who he was at the time. I just remember going to the parking lot right there, some dudes with some hood rats and shit. Like, hey fool, hey homie, why you dressed like a bitch, homie? That's what Air would do to food. Like, what, homie? I'm like, fucking food to start socking them up and shit. I'm like, oh, I would crack up. I would just crack up like, oh, I'm gonna stay out there, just crack it up, fool. Like, and then when I got into LTS, I kicked it with him. I kicked it with him once, and then the second time I kicked it with him was like a month later, and him and I kicked it off, bro. You know what I mean? Then we kicked it at Braille's mom's house on this little, you know what I mean, the side, abandoned property on the side. We smoked, and he told me, hey, homie, fucking, I'm glad you got in the crew, homie. I got love for you. You're a fucking dope motherfucker. And he gave me props, bro. I'm like, thank you, bro. And no one's ever came at me like that. No one ever came at me and said I'm cool. And fool, he died fucking the next week. You know what I mean? Like, he passed away the next week, bro. Like, and we did the car wash and all that shit right there. Was off of Western and fucking 3rd, I think, and shit. You know what I mean? But yeah, fool, yeah, rest in peace, Air, homie. That was the homie.
As you mentioned, unfortunately, Air passed away, but you and several LTS members visit the Belmont Tunnel for an Air production. Can you please talk about that day?
Yeah, that was so that was a graffiti. That was an organized event where crews got together and did productions. So there was a CBS production as well. There was, I think, a UTI production, and there was other crews that did productions there. And so that was an LTS production, and if I'm not mistaken, it was me, Kyle, which he used to write Sick back in the days, not like Sick from OTR. And it's funny because Sick showed up, and that's my homie. Actually, Sick is one of the first fools I painted with too, Sick from OTR. But Kyle LTS, me, Kyle LTS, Retina, Braille, Dry, and Sinner. And there might have been some other cats that helped out with filling and stuff, but that's who I remember was there when I was painting and shit. And we all worked on the scheme. Braille did a lot of the shit, Sinner and Retina, and I did a lot of the filling, and then I did a robot on the side and shit. So that was the LTS production back in the days and shit. I mentioned Dry, right? Dry, Kyle, yeah. And Creed, excuse me, my homie Creed, bro.
Butcher, now, you're one of the artists that helped bring Silver Lake into prominence. Would you agree with that statement?
Oh, yeah.
At one point, you also had the most legal spots in Los Angeles graffiti history. Would you agree with that statement as well?
Yep.
Do you remember getting your first legal spot, and how does that come about? Because back then, no one was getting legal spots, but it seemed everywhere we turned, you had one, or Retina as well, with Arby.
So there we go. Thank you, first of all. Retinas, this is the issue. And this is not like, I mean, it may sound I'm bragging, right? My murals were in the epicenter of prime time real estate in LA traffic on Route 66, which is the Silver Lake area, Sunset Boulevard. Everyone's gonna see that shit. A lot of those dudes are from mid-city, so not everyone's going to mid-city to see some liquor store, you know what I mean? And you brought up RB real quick. Dude, I capped one of his fucking, and this is when we were both from LTS and shit, when he barely got into the crew. I fucking went in and I just asked the liquor store owner some shit. He go, I don't like that one. I don't like that shit. He told me, I'm like, I'll fucking do some crazy shit. All right, and he let me do it. And then RB got all mad, but, you know, I hope he's still not mad at me and shit. But no, my first wall was actually in downtown LA, and it was in 95 with Smog. My first paid commission mural was in 95, and it was a Fun Hut arcade on 5th and Broadway. Was it 5th or 4th and Broadway? Pardon me. And I did Mario. It's when that Mario 3D game just first came out. And I did Mario doing flares with a basketball. I did Fun Hut, and it was like basic. It was 3D, but it was flat. It was like basic letters because I had to make it legible. Pardon me. And my homie Smog did like a little video game character with a AAA on it. And then I did a fucking C for Krang, a three-dimensional, like a wild style three-dimensional like C. And I can't find a clear photo, but I do have a photo of it with an eyeball on it and like a stop, like a little punching thing. Yeah, that was my first commission piece right there.
When getting your legal walls, how would you get them? Would you go in there and ask? Would you go dressed a certain way? What was your...
I would walk in. Well, I would try to look as clean as possible, you know what I mean? Like with not just covered in paint or some shit like that, not looking banged out or nothing. And I would walk in and with my portfolio. And the funny thing is, I don't even remember how I got that gig. I don't remember if someone referred me to them, but my normal way of getting murals was coming in with my portfolio and offering them a trade, a barter for services, and saying that this will help graffiti and vandals not vandalize their shit. Originally, and that turned into the Silver Lake area, the East Hollywood, the Hollywood area, that spiel in the late 90s and early 2000s of all the gang members and taggers know my name, so they respect me, they won't deface your shit, especially in my neighborhood because I could physically patrol. It's like this, I'll tell you, like for the first time Deuce painted with me, he painted, it was about 20 years ago, and Deuce is the type that will show up when I'm not there. He'll be at there at 5 in the morning, bro. He started painting the Hoover and Santa Monica wall. And he tells the homie, oh, fuck, that shit. I'm like, what happened? He goes, some gangbanger pulled up and said, hey, you know Butcher Holmes? With his baby in the car seat and shit and banged on him. And he goes, yeah, homie, that's the homie. He goes, all right, cool. Homie dipped out. And that's how I got it, you know what I mean? From freeway to freeway, Vermont to Silver Lake, and that's where you see the concentration of my work because of that reason. I used to have one down the street over here on the one on Vine in Santa Monica. That was the same deal. That was a barter. I came in with my portfolio. I literally went to 2 different business owners. I went to Ovi at the Army Surplus. I'm like, hey, big dog, I'll trade some gear and, you know, a little bit of cash, and I'll rock your whole shit, bro, blah, blah, blah. He's like, oh, fuck yeah. He was down. He says, I just want you to, but it was a commission. He paid me because he wanted tanks and shit. I'm like pro-army and shit, but that's what he wanted, and I did a butcher. You know what I mean? And then I went to Coast Recording on the other side on Santa Monica and went to the old gentleman, and he said he'll hook, let me rock some shit, pay me, but he wants Sailor's Hornpipe, which is Popeye the Sailor Man. Popeye the Sailor. And this was like 80 years old. He says, I want Sailor's Hornpipe, and then you could do whatever the fuck you want. So it was cool. I did that music note thing on top. I don't know if you've seen that one back in the days. And then I got to do whatever I want right there. So it was cool because I actually got a full corner street wall right there. And that's what I would do. I would offer my services and tell them that it'll stop graffiti from going on their walls.
At the height, how many spots do you think you had running at one time?
Probably about 15, bro. In one place by myself. And so compare that, like I guess Retina had walls, right? But that was production with other people. I'm talking about these are my walls. And I have had other people on the walls. I've had BW on the wall, that Guilt, the homie, you know what I mean? I've had Mir on the wall. I've had Slick on my walls. I've had Yam on my walls. GAWs have always collaborated with me, like fucking Mitz, Jizzer, Deuce, my homie Prone and shit. My homie Prone's always like with me on the GRAFF shit, you know what I mean? That's one of my like right-hand man and shit. My homie Perv, you know what I mean? But, and my kids, bro, my youngest kids are you know, my 6-year-old and my fucking 13-year-old are up in the bay practicing up on their shit, you know what I mean?
We've spoken to Man One, and he told us for several years there was a moratorium on murals all over Los Angeles. How did you deal with that moratorium? Do you recall that? Did you keep painting during the moratorium?
I never, didn't affect me, bro. Because mine was a personal thing between individual businesses, if not the property owners, and that's how I would establish my, you know what I mean?
What's the longest you've gone without painting?
Dude, I could say probably a couple years, but I'm always painting canvases and stuff. So I've literally probably like a year, because I always get a little small wall, or like, so like in 2010, I took a break because I had another son up north, so it was harder for me to just be down here catching walls and shit and shit. So my I did a little bit less work and tried to just do more psychedelic visionary canvas work because I was mobile all the time, so I had to be in 2 places at once. And so more recently, say like 2014, 14, I started trying to get some of my old walls back, and it was just more difficult until recently I just started cracking and blasting off again.
As you mentioned, you have so many walls, sometimes it's hard to keep track. But what are your thoughts and feelings when a different artist takes your location that you've had rocking for years?
It depends, because it's my fault if a wall is 20 years old and I'm not in communication with the property owner and it's like faded away. It could be because my negligence. And so, but then when I see, like, if we're talking about a specific wall, if I see someone that I'm like, I know that style, those motherfuckers know me. That could be a certain shit with, you know what I mean? Like that Army surplus wall, I know some people, I know whoever painted that knows me and shit. But I'm not offended because I neglected the wall. Like, I've just thought that shit would be up there forever, you know what I mean? It all depends on the circumstance. You feel me? It all depends on the circumstance. If someone disses my shit, like I'll put it on blast right now. There's a kid, Sick Kid. Are you familiar with the kid, Sick Kid? And I shouldn't even be mentioning his name. He's toy as fuck, bro. He capped one of my walls, bro, in broad daylight, and I caught him slipping in my hood. I'm like, hey, you got permission to paint this wall? Over my shit. He was actually capping fucking Sloth from LTS on my wall. I'm like, you got permission? He goes, oh yeah, the owner gave me permission. I'm like, oh, are you serious? Because the owner wouldn't give them. I called him, Enrique, hey homie, did you give permission to him? He goes, no, I don't give permission to nobody. I'm like, it's Paisa homie, you know? I'm like, I went to the kid, now he had his boy looking, I said, homie, check this out. You're in my neighborhood, you just lied in my fucking face and I gave you a chance. Get the fuck out of here before I fucking take your head off of your fucking neck, bro. And he goes, oh, my bad, homie, and like smirked it off, bro. And he took off. I didn't touch him, I didn't hurt him, right? I come back the next morning, bro. He went and came and finished his shit. So I hit him up on Instagram recently. I'm like, hey, motherfucker, remember me, homie? When I see you, you know what's good, homie. You owe me a little something and shit. And, hey, man, that was 8 years ago. We're all growing up. Get over it. Like, dude. So my point, there's some dumb new generation idiots that think it's all good to just deface some shit and don't think someone will knock their teeth out. I'm not like saying I'm a violent dude, but that's some old school shit. We didn't do that to nobody. I didn't go just diss somebody's shit. And I know any dude that I capped their shit when I'm young is too old to trip on me now. What are they gonna do? I'm 45. I can still fight, bro. I'm gonna be 45. Dudes like, but I capped her all 50 something. So if they want to get down, we get down. It'll be like, what's his name?
Butcher, you're making a name for yourself. Your crew, AAA, is making waves. But you're also catching several walls all around Los Angeles. But something happens at a nightclub called The Whiskey on Sunset, where Curtis Blow is having a show, and he wants you to paint.
Yeah.
But for some reason, they don't let you. And Curtis Blow ends up suing The Whiskey.
Yeah.
Can you please tell us about that?
All right, so I was at some b-boy event in Hollywood. It was like a Radiotron, but some other company threw it. I forgot the name of it. I think it was called The Freshest Kids, but not the documentary. It was something like that, right? I forgot. And that's where I met Curtis Blow. He was one of the judges for the breakdance competition, and I shot him my book. You know what I mean? And he saw me breakdancing as well. He said, oh shit, you get down, could you pop too? And I'm like, yeah, I pop, I breakdance, I pop, I fucking MC, I fucking do graffiti. He's like, show me your graffiti. And I was always equipped with my arsenal, you know what I mean? So busted out my book. He's like, check this out, homie. I got an idea, I want to rock a show. I got a show coming up in a few weeks at the Whiskey, and I'll be doing the breaks, and I'm going to have some poppers. You know what I mean? And I want someone to fucking b-boy up there and do graffiti at the same time, homie. So I want you to go pop, do a couple of floor moves, and then fucking whip the spray pan out of your pockets and start riding the breaks. Do a throw up of the breaks live during the show. And my first thought is like, this was out of his mind, bro. What the fuck? Like, I'm 16 years old, bro. I'm like, this was out of his mind, bro. They're not gonna let him do this, but I'm like, fuck yeah. Right? So yeah, day comes, we fucking meet up there. You're like, you ready, Cram? You know what I mean? We ready to do this? I'm like, yeah, bro, I got fucking a backpack full of paint, bro. Fucking, we go up in there, and then I guess the bouncer said something. That dude had a bunch of spray paint and shit. And he goes, well, what are you doing, Curtis? It was a big, like, ginger dude. the promoter, the owner of the club, is like, what's going on? He's like, yeah, this is what's gonna happen. Homie's gonna hit up the shit. We're gonna rock it. It's like, you can't do this. It's, which obviously it's illegal. You can't fucking a bunch of people hotboxing a bunch of spray paint. But yeah, I'm like, oh fuck. And homie's like, you can't do this. He says, all right, then. Fuck it then. Sorry, I'm not performing. You know what I mean? And he said, fuck it. And what he did was sue them for like 10 grand or some shit, bro, for using his name on the flyer and not going along with his performance protocol. And I'm like, fuck. And then to me, that was all conjecture because I didn't plan on seeing any money out that shit. Like, and he was super Christian on some like hardcore religious thing at the time. And so 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, or like a month later, bro, I'm at Starbucks. I was working at Starbucks on Gower and fucking Sunset right there. He walks in. Who hands me 2 bills, bro.
Wow.
And they're like, who's that? I'm like, that's Curtis Blow. That's fucking Break Soul. They go, basketball. Yeah, dude. Yeah, that's some real shit right there. I kept in touch with them. I did some other shit with them later on, but that was a significant moment for that to happen, bro. It was like, wow, this will sue them for not letting them do graffiti. But I also look forward to like painting with, you know what I mean?
Butcher, besides painting legal walls around Los Angeles, you've also painted at some huge events like the X Games. Can you tell us about painting at these high-profile events?
Yeah.
And how do you get them? Do they find you? Do you reach out to them?
Nah, I didn't know any of those people. That was A1 from K2S. He hit me up. He's like, hey, fool, fucking, we got a spot. We got to collaborate. You need someone to do a Mountain Dew logo, and we'll collaborate on it. And then you could do your shit on the side, and it was commissioned. So we split the commission, and I did a Mountain Dew logo. And then I got to just freestyle and do like a little piece on the side of the Mountain Dew logo. And so I do have a photo somewhere of my piece, but I cropped the Mountain Dew logo out because that's not my, like, it looked clean too, but that's boring work, you know what I mean? But yeah, that was with A1 from K2S and shit out in Irvine, X Games 2007 and shit. I met P-Rod, the skater, came up and showed love and gave props, and were introduced to all of the graffiti writers that were there that day.
Isn't he also a notable figure from Silver Lake? P-Rod or
Is
no?
he from Silver Lake? I didn't know that. I know he's from LA, but I don't know if he's from Silver Lake. That's dope if he is.
Okay, I was asking. All right. I also see you painting several canvases.
Oh, yeah.
Are you now branching out into putting your work into galleries?
I actually have, in July, I have an exhibition at the Hive Gallery downtown. It's a cyberpunk. They're doing, like right now, currently in June, they're doing a circus themed thing, but I have some paintings going to be displayed there in July. I've had previous displays and exhibitions, but more involved in like a up north psychedelic visionary group of paintings. And most of the other paintings were done on computer, but my style is kind of computer-esque. So they were displayed with those paintings. But those were curated and organized by different friends of mine. My friend Ben Taylor, and then his homegirl Sparkle, and they're bringing up to like hippie festivals, Deadhead shows, and stuff like that. So I've done stuff like festivals and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Burning Man. I did Burning Man 08, LIB back in the days, Lightning in a Bottle. Yeah, like Denver. I have a lot of friends and family in Denver and shit. What I mean by family is like spiritual family. My homie Bliss and like my homies out there in Denver and shit. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Do you enjoy painting canvases as much as walls?
It depends. It depends on the scenario because I don't have to worry about my shit getting fucked with. I don't have to worry about a canvas. I don't have to worry about cars. Like somebody going, hey, what do you paint graffiti? Like while I'm painting my mural and shit, like an intersection. So you mean I don't have to worry about street shit or watch your back on a canvas. I could just stare at my shit, hit the bong and stare at my shit, let it dry, put another coating, stare at my shit, put another coating, and so that's how I paint. You know what I mean? Then I do my music. I produce drum and bass, techno, hip hop while I paint, while shit's drying, and so different at a wall, it's a different vibe. It's like the wall, even though it's legal, my legal walls, and I'm not saying, I got a couple of stunt doubles that do my trains and shit, that my prodigies and shit, but when it comes to the legal walls, I still have that, and keep in mind I have a gang history, so I still gotta watch my back. Anyone did. I think any man should. You should never put your guard down, you know what I mean? So there's a different stigma to my walls than my canvas is because my walls, I'm like butcher, ninja dude that's like I said, ducking from bullets, metaphorically, chopping shit up on the wall. My canvas, I can just be a little bit more creative, and it's not graffiti because I don't consider myself one of those like muralists that's on a fucking electric scaffolding doing these giant buildings. I'm raw graffiti, hip hop, that's my thing, and it's like I do it all fast, and it's like a throw up that's taking a little bit of time. Some of my three-dimensional pieces that people take days to do, I took an hour, 2 hours. Some of them are on my Instagram page. I did it 45 minutes. You can see a time lapse of me. I go straight to it. So it's two different things. I feel I'm on a race at a wall. People are watching me at a wall, and I never know who's watching. The eye of the observer in quantum mechanics, 10 to the 33rd minus centimeter. That's what I'm concerned about, the person. And it's not everybody. It's an individual that sees what I'm saying and says, hey, that fool's doing that all off the dome. And so that's a different thing on a canvas. I can do anything on a canvas. You know what I mean? All the time in the world is the wall. There's like, I feel like there's a clicker. So yeah, that's the difference.
Butcher, while doing research for this interview, I noticed that in most of your artwork, if not all of it, there's always eyeballs. Eyeballs everywhere. What's the of the eyeballs? Is there some kind of message that you're trying to send?
See my eyelids? It says the look, the view. So I see everything, you know what I mean? It's also the hood. That's like a logo from where I grew up, you know what I mean? The culture. And that's the honest truth. It started with something that was easy for me to draw. So I wouldn't like, because, you know, people would say eyes are hard. And it's funny how I showed my eyes right when I did that. Eyes are difficult to draw. So I practiced on that all the time. Dude, I'm like, because I'm like mushrooms, weed leaves, skulls. I could do all that shit, all that stoner hippie shit. But eyeballs became my shit. I could do eyeballs really fast. I wish we had a sketchboard. I look, my finger. This is how I draw eyeballs. Do the bags under the eyes. And I do the pupil, do a little circle. And that's how fast I do it with a can. With a can, it's like this. So yeah, that's just, it's a staple thing. And it's also like, you know what I mean, te veo. I'm looking at you, I'm watching, you know what I mean? The look.
Now, Butcher, I love to talk about this current era of Los Angeles graffiti culture. First off, starting with the historical Oceanwide Plaza skyscrapers. What were your thoughts when you heard the news about what was happening in downtown Los Angeles?
Well, I was out of town, bro. That shit was butt naked. And that Miami shit just went down, literally. So like that, everyone's like, oh, that Miami shit's about to get tore down. And then I'm up north, and my friends are like, hey, we're hitting that spot. I know a lot of dudes that hit that spot. You know what I mean? A lot of the big ones that hit that spot. Even the crews, fools from the crews, they hit the big ones. You know what I mean? Like almost everybody on that spot I know, bro. And they know me. All the local cats. But it's just funny. I was out of town, bro. I'm not going to say I was jealous because I can't put my name out there like that. The cops have known who I am since I was a kid. But my stunt doubles can do that shit. They can't say I'm some crime boss if I send a stunt double. Anyone can hit a Butcher. You can't blame that on me. I'm a fucking 45, gonna be 45, bro. He's like, so 45-year-old man, fuck you. I do my art. They can never hold that against me. But yeah, I would have had somebody down there rocking this shit if I knew about it. And one of my homies did. One of my stunt doubles did. But he hit up his name because I didn't know about it. I was out of reception, and so yeah, I would have took advantage. By the time I was back in LA, it was right before, like, so when it got the news coverage and all that shit, I'm not, and no offense, it was kind of played out by that time, and other people were capping other people, and dudes from Germany were already up on it, and so like, okay, they're like, but props to those dudes. Yeah, I came back into town when the skydiver dudes were jumping off of it. I'm like, okay, nah, it's a burn now, you know what I mean?
In your opinion, which was better, Miami Art Basel or the Oceanwide Plaza skyscrapers?
Blam, homie. All day, West Coast. I mean, it's like, just no offense to Miami, but like, you know what I mean? Straight fucking.
What do you feel should happen to the towers going forward?
I don't know, dude. I mean, that should become I think, it's almost like, I don't know, it depends on where we're at in the world. It's like they could almost capitalize off of it. The company could even capitalize off of it and make it a monument and say, fuck that, and turn that into a big-ass, like, plaza that's based off of hip-hop and shit. Do you know how much it would cost to commission graffiti artists to paint something that big? That'd be a fucking $2-3 million project. Am I not mistaken? So think about it, how that can be capitalized on. And that's just like literally off the dome idea. I didn't plan on answering that question, but to think about it, it's like, how much are they going to spend to fix it? That's like almost stupid. It's counterintuitive. So it's like if they kept that shit and marketed it as that and realized some of these people that are heads of these crews that are up on that are entrepreneurs themselves and got capital. You can't just spend fucking 5,000. That's you're not telling me you didn't spend $3,000 on paint, motherfucker, to do a fucking 6-story piece? I know how much paint costs and shit. And if someone sponsors you, they're sponsoring some illegal. There's something going on here. So yeah, there's some money that's already on that wall right now. So I mean, I look at it. They could utilize it and do something else. A lot more people like it than dislike it. Oh, look at it's graffiti. It's vandalism. Get the fuck out of here. It's 2024. You know what I mean? Like I used to hate on Fushi. Oh, that's toy is whack. No, I'm hyped. At my age now, I'm hyped on people that got the balls to do it, that are trying. You know what I mean? That are out doing it and shit. So I have a different mentality about it now. You know what I mean? So like, that was an all effort of people that are more ballsy than the people that are gonna fucking diss it. You get my point? They'll have the balls to risk their life and be on a fucking ledge, and there's more to it than just some. And some kids did pieces up there, bro. So that's what I'm saying. I think that shit should stay. I think that I'm like totally for graffiti. I'm not anti-graffiti unless someone disses my shit. You get my point, fool? I think that's beautiful that the fools went all out and gay. Because if you search what city has the most graffiti, it's New York. It's always been New York, right? But what about now, homie? That shit's a graffiti fucking. We just made ourselves the biggest graffiti capital of the fucking world. Who's gonna fucking? That's just like someone disagrees with that. That's just like saying that Michael Jackson wasn't the most famous entertainer in the world, or fucking Thriller ain't the shit. Till this day, know anyone that says Thriller, the song Thriller, and the video ain't the shit, they're fucking out of their mind, bro. And that's what I'm saying. That's a dope ass fucking those buildings are tight, bro. I wish I was up there, you know.
Butcher, you've had an incredible history, almost over 30 years. You've seen it all. What are your feelings on today's graffiti culture in Los Angeles overall? What do you see on the streets?
Dude, these kids don't give a fuck, bro. These kids don't, look. It's funny, me and the homie were going to go catch a train. That's why I was like acting like I'm all innocent and like burn myself. Bring in my stunt double to go catch a train, bro. We go through the 2nd Street tunnel, bro, and there's like 3 heavy-set dudes kicking it there. 2 dudes watching them painting this fucking. It was like at 9 o'clock at night. I'm like, these cops run. They're not gonna be able to get away from the cops, bro. We passed through, and I look back, bro. I see 3 fucking LAPD squad cars behind us that just passed through the tunnel. They didn't fuck with those dudes, bro. And so I don't get it, bro. I remember a few years ago, this is like 10 years ago, me and Prone wanted to go catch some tags, bro. Just catch some tags in my neighborhood, some throwies on some grills. In my neighborhood, down like a block away from my house, bro. I don't know where Maintain used to be. Mm-hmm. I lived down the street from there, Maintain, where it used to be on Sunset. And we went to go catch a wall, and the cops passed. I'm like, what the fuck? You couldn't even catch a tag, bro. We ended up hitting up on Bulan, the Thai restaurant. Because it was hot, bro. So kids are either ballsy, able to risk a prison term, you know what I mean, or they're letting people out of county, but kids don't give a fuck now, you know what I mean? So that's all I can say about that. And the progression's a little bit different. I'm starting to see wild style billboards. That's new. That's all like the past 2 or 3 years, you know what I mean?
Are there any current artists that you see in this era that you enjoy seeing up that are catching your eye and doing something different?
First of all, MAME, AAA, Nivik, AAA, Free Nivik. Right now, he's got 3 years, homie. You know what I mean? Hopefully, they'll give him less. I guess those NBC kids, whoever's catching those fucking, the Hopes, first of all. I think I know him from back in the days because he's homies with my homie Search, rest in peace, AOB. Yeah, that kid that's hitting up those fucking...
Sick, NBC.
Yeah,
he's also sick.
Long-ass rollers, anyone who's doing all that shit, I'm like, oh, fuck. Because, like, actually, I caught the highest spot, to my knowledge, in L.A., bro. Back in 99, the highest heaven, and it's because Youth from YR, and sorry to backtrack, I know we're on a different subject, brought me over the 5 freeway, right there in Frogtown, right before the Home Depot, where it goes over the river. And then his dad's a cop, So the cops came and he's, oh shit, and got all scared and dipped out. So I didn't get to finish my piece. So I got mad and went back the next day and went back to the middle of the fucking river. So if anyone gets a photo of that, please send it to me. I did an eyeball in a CR for Crane over the LA River, fucking 400, 300 feet, whatever that is, over the LA River. I'm the only one that I know that went all the way out there back in '99, and it got buffed for the Democratic convention or whatever. But yeah, nowadays it's those kids that are doing those heavens and shit. Like, were you talking about talent-wise, or are you referring to
both
like, skills and stuff? I don't see as many, to be real, I don't see kids here as many, and I don't know the age bracket of who's doing what, but I don't see as many kids pushing the envelope as I would like to see it. But kids are getting up, bro, with their shit, and they're incorporating more wild style graffiti into their fucking bombing, which I think is dope. But I'm not seeing as much like productions and shit, like, you know what I mean, fools spending mad time. It's all people that I already know that are doing pieces, and like I said, that's a generation older than me because my generation was all tag bangers and shit, you know what I mean?
Again, you've had an incredible history. Can you please name some of the female writers throughout the years that you've seen or that have caught your attention? Are there any that come to mind that have made an impact?
Fuck, dude. I don't want to get, you know, fucking my girl get pissed, bro. They used to throw pussy at me all day, bro. Like certain I'm not going to mention their names because, you know what I mean? But I'll just remember one chick, bro, from OTR. I'm not going to say who she is because I got other homies from OTR. I was like, you don't like me? I'm like, I'm drunk. I didn't drink. And I'm drunk. Come on, girl. I'm drunk because I just wasn't into it like that. You know what I mean? It was all like, I got, instead of like it being a writer thing, my first baby mama was a writer too. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of shit behind that and other dudes that like them and shit, you know what I mean? And that's all that politics, you know what I mean? But I tried to veer away from that type of shit. But respect for chicks and their style, I'll tell you straight up who's cool. And for recently, that chick Jism,
yeah,
she's getting up and she's hitting up like kind of piece quality shit. So I give her props on that shit, you know what I mean? So, but I don't know her personally. We never kicked this shit like that. I don't know many LA chick writers. It's always been a different kind of dynamic with them, and me also avoiding them because of who they hang out with and shit, because I never wanted the wrong. And another note, like my wife, bro, she's like I don't know, like a Nostradamus, bro. She don't chime with other chicks in my attention, so I don't even go there, you know what I mean? I'm very like loyal to her and shit like that.
Up to this point, what do you feel has been your biggest accomplishment in graffiti so far?
Damn, that's a good question because I don't have any specific things graffiti-wise except for like the doper pieces that I did. You get my point? Like I could go hit the Eiffel Tower and be commissioned to paint the Eiffel Tower, but if I did a whack piece, it wouldn't be that moment. So it would be certain pieces I did, certain people I met. You know what I mean? I don't have a specific, bro. I have the same. You get my point. I like my most recent like. On Lucille and Sunset, I got paid pretty well for that one, but I don't consider the amount of money I made the milestone. You get my point? I consider the pieces that I like the most important. It could be a canvas, it could be one of my burners and shit. You know what I mean? So that's I can't really say a specific. You feel me?
What's been the toughest part of your graffiti career?
That tag banger shit. Like, oh, this fool fucking said he wants to get at you and so, and I was always that dude that's like, well, tell him to come through, homie, I'm ready for anything. And being that dude gave me a bad rep in many, like, arenas, and certain people won't talk about me because my opinion is very out there and I'll say some real shit. You know what I mean? So there's a few cats that are millionaires now. I'm not going to mention their names. I kind of hinted it once, but I called them out recently on a battle online, and I'm like, hey, what up, fool? Fucking, it'd be good publicity for me. And then this fool got my shit fucking banned on Instagram. Had to make a new account and all that shit. So, and the comment was removed, meaning that's why my account was banned. You get my point? So, if you're in the position and you make $1 million off your work, and I'm struggling to feed my family, why would you even fucking? And ironically, I used to teach you how to paint. You get my point? Don't hate on me, bro. And so there's that stigma of. It's like this. Do you think? If someone's doing something better than you and you have your agent and your clients, is it your best interest to introduce them to your agents? For instance, Good example. I'm at Nature Well. This is where I, health food, drinks and stuff, acai and stuff like that. And Mir, who has painted with me, I've let him on my walls. He's got my walls defaced. He defaced Slick's shit back in the days because there were witnesses. I wasn't there, but there were witnesses. He has a client, and I hear the guy say, "Hey," and the guy's right next to me, and Mir's right there, and I'm waiting in line. I hear him go, "Hey, you know any other good graffiti artists? Just shoot them my way." And I hear that specifically. Mir, "Oh, sure." Didn't know I heard it. Goes to go grab a napkin and gets in between me and the dude. So he tried to like literally hate on me when instead of saying there's Butcher, that wall across the street, that's his wall that I'm on. And pretend and literally hate and not get me hooked up. So that type of shit, bro. I've had to do my own thing. You know what I mean? You know what? Can I backpedal for a question? Biggest graffiti accomplishments? Kent Twitchell. I've collaborated with Kent Twitchell. Kent Twitchell's the dude who did the big LA Philharmonic mural, the dude with the violin downtown. So I've done his work for him. Basically, he does his shit in a numbers system with Ruben Soto, who is his like right-hand man who paints it all by brush. So I've done that work for him, and I did all the graffiti art with Deuce, and I forgot another cat over there under Glendale Boulevard. That was on the news and everything. Garcetti was there and shit. That was like some serious shit. And the mural's still there. You know what I mean? I met Sylvester Stallone. I met a few people. I painted Sylvester Stallone's face and shit.
Where is that mural at? Can you repeat
Glendale Boulevard and Sunset Boulevard, but under the bridge on Sunset Boulevard near the Echoplex, where the Dub Club used to be.
Butcher, are there any regrets or wishes you would have done something different in your career?
Yeah, not diss certain fools. Straight up, not like threaten certain fools, not like, you know what I mean? Because those little scuffles, bro, turned into motherfuckers not mentioning my name to gallery owners and stuff like that. And so I would, and just me defending myself and being a defensive, competitive graffiti artist back in the days, I would speak my mind. And so if I said something was whack and something was dope, if I said your shit was whack back in the days, you're gonna remember that. Or if my friend did something and that was my friend, you associated with that, and then you know what I mean? So some people hate me because of Braille back in the days, bro. You know what I mean? But I'm not gonna hold that against them. You meet me and I say this and that, and so yeah, the competitiveness. Nobody wants to get upstage, you know what I mean? So sometimes my ego getting blared out there or saying too much when art sells itself, you know what I mean? So yeah, my biggest regrets would be encompassing the tag banging aspect in my like painting, because I had to worry about fools rolling up. Like, so when I was painting, I wasn't worried about any rider. I didn't ever look at riders as tough. I knew riders, when they were scared, they got jumped into a neighborhood and didn't talk about it. And so one crew would be like, my homie's from this neighborhood. So I was from a neighborhood. So I'm like, I don't give a fuck, bro. And so that attitude, me not saying where I'm from, but being like, okay, fuck this fool, fuck that fool, come through if you got a problem, has given me a lot of problems, bro. But it doesn't affect me outside of LA. And that's what I'm saying. The dudes overseas are a lot more open to me. They're like, oh shit, what's up, Butcher? And recently I got all of the trip to the 3A in Mexico that was established in the early 2000s. I put all of them down. So they're all from my 3A now and shit. And I was kind of trying to do that. I know that dude Gesser, he's not from my crew. That dude, I don't know where he's from, the East Coast or some shit. But that dude never got back at me. So then fucking, what's up, homie? It's battle then. If you're not going to get back at me, you're too cool to get back at me, homie. I'll fuck your shit up if you want to come to a wall and claim my crew that I started in 94, because I try to come at you humbly. And maybe some people should just read their Instagram, because, you know what I mean? Be humble to the, because I'm still that motherfucker. I'm still the real motherfucker. You know what I mean? I came out painting graffiti to be the GOAT, not to be a millionaire, just to battle and serve you. And that's why I paint, you know what I mean? And so that's what it's about, you know?
Butcher, I want to thank you again for blessing us by making an appearance here at our studio and our show.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it, man.
Likewise.
I always wanted to know who the fuck you were, bro. Thank you for educating us on your history and exactly what went down.
Thank you.
But before we end this interview, bro, I was doing some research and I saw that you came across a 60-year-old Krylon can.
Yeah,
and I asked you to bring it in. Can you please show it to us? I was really interested. First of all, where did you get it? Where did you find it? Have you tried using it?
No. it's the coolest shit I've ever seen when it comes to a spray can. It's a gold spray can. I was at my girl's cabin that her family built in the 50s. And so I guess this was one of the original supplies, and they had it up with their shit. I'm like, nah, fuck that. Like, whoever bought this is dead. You know what I mean? So I'm like, fuck that.
Have you looked into eBay on how much this might be worth? Have you tried?
Yeah, I saw some for $300, and I seen the lowest one for $100 plus shipping and all that shit.
Nice, man. Definitely an artifact from the past that needs to be seen.
I'm gonna get a chain, bro, and rock it like a b-boy chain. You know what I mean? I'm not into jewelry, but I'll get a little chain for this. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah, man. Great discovery. Now, Butcher, before we end this interview, I want to ask you, where do you see graffiti going into the future? We're almost going to be in 2030. There's people hanging down the side of buildings with hiking harnesses. What do you think is next for graffiti? Where do you see it going?
Fucking interplanetary, bro. Straight up. For someone's gonna do some fucking Dyson sphere graph and shit. And what the future is, that's a big area to like encompass. So what do you mean by the future? Thousands of years in the future? This shit's gonna keep going, bro. You know what I mean? Like, if I was around the whole time, I'm gonna take it to some new heights, bro. Connect trees together to make a fucking sculpture. You know what I mean? So, like, I don't know, the sky's the limit. Whoever, like, you know, they say that the Akashic records, that you can tap into this record that's been around since the Big Bang or since the beginning of time, and that there's, like, the term, there's nothing new under the sun, that everything's a replication of something that's been done in the spirit realm in the past. And so things are going to be replicated from the Akashic records and transformed into different objectivity. By who? I don't know. Or relatives on another planet or subterranean? I don't know.
Do you believe in a Big Bang? Do you believe we come from aliens? Do you believe we're in a hologram?
I think it's closer to the hologram than the Big Bang. I don't believe it. I think the Big Bang is a crock of shit. The James M. Webb telescope shows that the whole dating of galaxies is been wrong, that it's been contradicted. So I don't really, and it doesn't make sense to me. I think it's eternal. Based off of my psychedelic experience, there's no beginning and there's no end. And we don't die. We physically die, but it's a sleep type of thing. You know what I mean? We come back, different form. I believe in reincarnation. And yeah, I think it's closer to a holograph experience. And I think based off of the work of Philip K. Dick, and he had a very valid point when he talks about orthogonal timelines and current realities connected to this. And I think we have the capability through certain realms to jump portholes through these realities. And this isn't theory to me. This is something that I've experienced within my own dream states and trips. So yeah, that's what I believe our reality is. And I believe we don't really know our reality either. It's all a crock of shit. The libraries of Alexandria were raided and fucking pillaged. So we don't really know our history. You know what I mean? So the only history we can learn is through meditation in figuring our cosmic reality. And so I don't believe in the Big Bang. No, I think that's a crock of shit. Someone could say they know science. The healthiest, the highest paid doctor is good at surgery and all that shit, but you can't take his health advice. Doctors don't know shit about health, bro. You know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, I think there's some sort of person, if it's God you want to call it, the higher source, that potentially is behind a holographic frame, and we're working on a user interface being our consciousness and our spirit being projected into us like a radio, and our heads are receiving a signal. I can't tell you where that's coming from, but I know it's not right here. It's external to us. That's my belief on existence.
Awesome, man. I love getting into these subjects. Thank you so much, bro.
Thank you for asking that.
Now, how would Butcher AAA like to be remembered in Los Angeles graffiti history? What should be said when someone says the name Butcher AAA?
Robotic, Robotech, DMT, psychedelic, LSD shit, bro. That's my stilo, you know what I mean?
What's next for Butcher AAA?
Bigger, robotic, more intricate, psychedelic, DMT shit, and more of it, you know what I mean? Like I don't have that. I don't feel my age. I don't feel like this. Like I'm gonna slow down. You know what I mean? Blah blah blah. I feel like I have the desire. Like what happens if you saw the inside of my place? I get these tangents where I just have a fucking marker and I'm like fuck, and I'll just fuck up my wall, bro, and catch tags. So it's like an old school like '80s like graffiti house where I sleep and I eat, sleep, shit graffiti, bro. That's my shit. So just like I rap. I battle my pillow. I'm always rapping, so that shit's always progressing. So I don't know as long as, and I don't believe the human lifespan is what we say it is. So I don't know what I'm gonna do when I'm 150. You get my point? So we'll see and shit. Sky's the limits, or the universe the limits. You know what I mean?
Butcher, I always ask our guests to give us their top 5 all-time list or their Mount Rushmore of LA graffiti writers. Can you give us your top 5 vandals of all time? Do you have a list?
I didn't prepare if I don't, dude. That's fucked up. But I can freestyle one to give props to my homies, you know what I mean? And people that I think are dope. Right now? You mean right now or all time?
All time for you.
Swank. Slick. Deuce. Create. Got one more? Butcher, homie. Fuck that, homie.
Awesome. You can't go wrong with that lineup. Thank you very much, Butcher. Now, if you could say anything to future generations of writers, what would it be? Hopefully they're watching this 10, 15 years from now.
Do your own shit. Don't follow graffiti protocol. And find your style and don't go by what people are telling you graffiti should be, because me doing that is what made me my originality. That's what developed my whole shit, the delineation of how I wanted things to come out. So if you just listen to everyone else, it's going to be their shit. You know what I mean? So I just kind of went internal with what I wanted to create. And so I think people should do it, up and coming people. What I tell my kids, I'm like, hey, fool, just do some letters, fool, and just fucking try to do your own shit. I'm not telling you to look at any references, because that's when the spirit comes out. Your spirit comes out in your style. You know what I mean? The further you step, like if you listen to a rap album for too long, you're gonna sound like that fool. And that's why I don't listen to certain rappers and shit. So do your own shit, and you're gonna develop something that can become ubiquitous as your own. You know, people, oh, I hear that, oh, that's that one dude. That came from that one dude. So, I mean, like, I have seen my stuff overseas. That's not me. Someone doing my shit that has seen my shit, but is doing it somewhere else. But I can't claim that because the Akashic Records, they could have tapped in and came up with themselves. So everyone taps into their own subconscious. And I recommend psychedelics. Sorry, this might be a little hardcore. I recommend psychedelics, DMT, LSD, mescaline, mushrooms. I smoke pot since I was 13, you know what I mean? Like, so that's what's up. And I'm not to do like, oh, I'm taking a break, I'm not smoking pot. Only time I took a break smoking pot was in county jail, you know what I mean? Because I couldn't. Those things have benefited my work, you know what I mean? So I'm not going to hold back and not say that to people and shit, you know what I mean? That's what's up. Do your shit. Find out your little tools that work, whether it's a stencil cap, whether it's whatever you do your thing. Don't let anyone tell you not to do that shit. Me not listening to those people that told me to do certain things is what developed my style. Straight up. So that's my advice.
Wise words from a legend. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Butcher, as we close our interview, would you like to give any shout outs?
Yes, shout outs to all the homies, like I said, that stayed down, originating with Slick and Doze, the homie Prone, Deuce, all the GAWs, like Swan, UTI, Pryor, Nuke, my homie Creed, LTS, Fish, all the homies from back in the days, bro. Dude, I could get a whole list of people. Homie Nivik, Free Nivik, my homie Mame, you know what I mean? All the homies from the hood, from the L's up. Anyone, like, props to Merch from MSK. You know what I mean? Because I heard one dude was talking about me and he gave me props. I don't even know that dude, but I heard he showed me love, so props to that dude. Props to dudes that didn't stick with this graffiti narrative and hate on the underdog, bro. Any of those dudes that show love. Rhyme from MSK too is defending me. Props to him. Shit like that, you know what I mean? And props to those MSK dudes and other dudes that are putting in their work and other crews. Props to OTR. Props to MTA. I got homies and family, loved ones that are associated with all these crews. So I got love for most of the crews in LA and shit, you know what I mean? So props to all, even the ones that don't get along with each other, it's like, You know what I mean? It's like, I know all you motherfuckers, bro. Like, chill with that shit. Props to BW, Moses, Menace, Guilt. Like I said, all the GAWs and yeah, for all the K2S, all the fools that stay down, LTS, fools, everybody. You know what I mean? Like I don't, and CBS, excuse me. Anger's the homie. Axis bought a painting off of me back in the days and shit. You know what I mean? So much love to all those fools and shit. And anyone, if I aren't saying your name, that I'm not being a dick. I'm just like not remembering off the dome. But much love to anyone that showed me love and supported me. Sick OTR, you know what I mean? Problem OTR.
Butcher, thank you again for joining us.
That's what's up. Thank you.
You are indeed graffiti royalty.
Thank you, brother.
I want to thank you for sharing your incredible history of Los Angeles with us.
Thank you, brother.
We wish you the best going forward and hope to have you back soon for an update on your career, man.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for joining us on another episode of GRAFF TV. This has been our exclusive interview with Los Angeles graffiti innovator, Butcher, from the AAA Crew.